welcome to councillors, members of the public and staff. My name is Councillor Ed McDougall, Mayor, and I declare the public forum open at 6:32 p.m. Everyone at the public forum is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual and use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws do apply. I also ask councillors to observe our requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of the council staff, exit via the Town Hall foyer and proceed to the evacuation point. With that being said, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects on behalf of Bayside Council, their elders past, present and emerging. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosures of interest? Public forum. So members of the public who have applied to speak at the public forum are now invited to address the council. Speakers are reminded that if matters have been raised by a previous speaker, there's no need to raise the matter during your address. Please only speak on additional matters. No decisions are made at the public forum. Members of the public that have registered to speak will be called forward one by one during the public forum. Speakers have been invited to be allocated time to address the public forum. A warning bell will sound when only 1 minute of speaking time remains. Speakers attending the meeting in person will be invited to proceed to the lectern. Speakers joining the meeting via MS Teams are reminded to have your video off and microphone muted until invited to speak. You're invited to stay in the public forum to listen to all other addresses, or you can watch online via the YouTube channel. If you registered a written submission prior to the meeting, please note that these have been provided to councillors. We do have 17 speakers tonight dealing with items 13.1, 13.2, 13.9, 13.12, 13.15. I would note with the volume of speakers, speaking times are limited and would appreciate everyone's assistance in keeping to those in the interest of allowing everybody to be heard during the public forum. With that being said, on item 13.1, I'll invite Mr Thomas Giatsos speaking against the officer's recommendation. Mr Giatsos. Mr James Mavroudis.
Good evening, everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm James Mavroudis, the President of Mascot Kings. We are opposing the motion of 13.1. Our club stands at the heart of our community, a place where kids, teenagers and adults alike come together, not just to play sport, but to learn teamwork, discipline and resilience. Yet despite our passion and dedication, the very ground we play on limits how far we can go. That's why an all-weather pitch isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Right now, our grass fields flood easily, wear out quickly and force us to cancel training and matches, sometimes for days and at some point sometimes weeks at a time. Every cancelled game or training session means a lost opportunity for exercise, connection and skills development. An all-weather field will allow play in all weather, reduce maintenance costs and open doors for extended community use, from junior clinics to women's programs and social competitions. Mascot Kings isn't just a football club. It's a lifeline for hundreds of players and families. A quality year-round surface would help us support the growing demand for participation while keeping everyone safe and inspired. By investing in an all-weather pitch, we're not just improving a field, we're strengthening our community's future. We're giving kids a safe place to dream, families a space to gather, and our local area a facility to be proud of every day of the year. Please give Mascot Kings the ground they deserve. One that matches our spirit, our commitment.
Please wrap up, Mr Mavroudis.
Commitment and potential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr Edward Yazbek. I know I've seen Ed here tonight, yeah.
Good evening, councillors. My name is Edward Yazbek, President of Bexley North Football Club. Founded in 1960, we are one of the oldest and largest sporting clubs in the Bayside area, representing over 1,500 members with a strong connected roots through the area and local surrounding suburbs. We are truly a generational club. Across FSG, our community extends into the tens of thousands. On behalf of our membership and community, we are speaking against the rescission motion. Our club has received overwhelming support from our members, residents and local businesses over the past few days. That message has been loud and clear. Our community, as ratepayers, is crying out for an all-weather field. It is the only viable option for our club. Our area is in desperate need of a local sporting precinct, similar to James Graham, Barton Park, or even Arncliffe Park. Places where children can play, families can gather, they can ride their bikes along the M5 bicycle track and kick a ball around and hang around and enjoy being active together. When assessed objectively, there is really no more suitable location than Kingsgrove Avenue Reserve. Flooding can be mitigated as per the other Bayside all-weather fields, which have the same flood risk rating as Kingsgrove Avenue Reserve. Bayside has 333 parks, nature parks and reserves, and only 3 all-weather.
Please wrap up, Mr. Yazbek.
Sure. This is a now or never moment for our club and our community. The support within our local area is unquestionable. Thank you.
Ms. Eleni Angelopoulos.
Good evening all. My name is Eleni Angelopoulos. I'm 14 years old and I've been playing for Bexley North FC for the last 9 years. This club means so much to our community. We just need a field that supports it. I'd like to share a few reasons why I think Kingsgrove Avenue should be an all-weather field. I've seen players at training and on game day getting injured without any contact because of uneven surfaces and poor condition of the field. We've had a lot of cancelled training sessions over the past few years due to bad weather, and it's been hard to compete against teams that have had access to all-weather fields. They can train consistently, while we sometimes go weeks without training, which feels unfair. When training gets cancelled, it's not just about missing practice. It means missing times with friends and losing the sense of community. Soccer is where we support each other, connect and build friendships. I work at a local cafe and I've noticed how many people in the community are connected to the club. Customers have come in and signed the petition without hesitation because everyone was in favour of having an all-weather field. Thank you.
Do we have Miss Maria Poulos online? No, nobody online. Mr. Jay Catino.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jay Catino. I'm the chair of Football St George. That's the peak body for grassroots football competitions in the St George region. Relevantly, as to how that applies to Bayside LGA, we have overall 12,500 registered participants. In Bayside, that comprises the southern half of the Bayside LGA, south of the airport, roughly 4,500 registered participants. And then on top of that, parents, volunteers, administrators who are all ratepayers. When it comes to these fields and the decision as to whether or not to develop them, beyond the club that benefits principally, all of those 4,500 players, I think you should bear in mind will have the opportunity to use that facility. And when we think about who benefits from this, and when I walk around fields that we use in Football St George, universally amongst those 4,500 participants, they regard the opportunity to play on all-weather pitches as a great thing, as a huge benefit for them. It's clearly the superior choice about how to play, and that should be taken into consideration as to how you deliberate on the motion going forwards. Thank you very much.
Miss Linda Toomer. Miss Linda Toomer.
Evening, councillors. My name's Linda Toomer. I'm the treasurer. I am a player for the under-30s and I coach the 15A girls at Bexley North FC. For me, this isn't just about fields, it's about connection. When Kingsgrove Avenue is washed out, training and games are cancelled, and that's not just a loss of sport. It's a loss of routine, a loss of community, and for many kids, it's their main social outlet. This is specifically important for teenage girls. We already face the challenges of keeping girls in sport. which is why consistency is key. When sessions are constantly cancelled, they disconnect from their team, their friends, and they lose the sense of belonging. And once that connection is lost, it's hard to get back, and that has a direct impact on their well-being and mental health. That's why this matter is so important. I understand the environmental concerns, and that should absolutely be considered. But it is important that we also look at the progress that has been made. There are now alternate infill materials like cork, sand, plant-based options, along with recyclable surfaces that significantly reduce the environmental impact, and they also remove the need for irrigation, significantly reducing our water usage. These changes will also benefit our local schools like Our Lady of Fatima, St Ursula's, Kingsgrove North, and so forth. At the very least, I would like to ask that we continue with the design phase so that...
Please wind up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Antonia Gregorio. Thanks. I do appreciate everyone wrapping up so that everyone can be heard tonight as well.
Hi guys, my name is Antonia. I've been part of Bexley North FC for 16 years. I currently play in the all-age women A's team and I coach an under-14 young girls team, many of whom are here and coming tonight to show their support, and that alone says a lot. As a coach, my priority is to make sure the girls can learn, enjoy the game, and do so in an environment that is accessible, but more importantly, safe. Right now, our field conditions make that incredibly difficult. We're only in round 4 of the season, and at the moment, our field is inconsistent in patches, slopes, potholes, and dead grass, and it makes it pretty much unplayable. BNFC currently fields more than 60 teams with a 35% female participation, well above Football New South Wales' state average. We have 3 over-30s women's teams, mums from our club who we would love to see playing at their home ground, and we see real opportunity to host a broader women's football in the future. We're asking for something simple, safe and consistent and fair access to a field all season long so our players can train properly and enjoy their sport and continue to grow both on and off the field. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight on behalf of all the female footballers in our club. Thank you.
Miss Gregorio. Miss Olympia Hollink. Miss Olympia Hollink.
Mayor, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Olympia and I'm the club secretary at Mascot Kings. I'm here to tell you not about the pros and cons of an all-weather field. I'm here to tell you about the great families that make up the beautiful multicultural Mascot Kings Soccer Club. They come not just from Mascot, but from Botany, Rosebery and East Lakes. East Lakes, believe it or not, is one of the most socially and economically disadvantaged suburbs, not just in the Bayside LGA, but in the whole of Sydney. Don't take my word for it. Look up the CEFA index on the ABS website. These families are migrants. Some live in social housing. They work hard and they all love football. Those families rely on our club and its home ground, Lestrange Park, that's often waterlogged with Lestrange Pool, for their children's social and physical well-being. They don't have the income to afford other out-of-school activities. They don't go to dance lessons, music lessons or concerts. For them, this is it. If the park is shut, they miss out on their fun for the whole week. Please, let's not go backwards with this motion. Those families deserve better.
Thank you, Miss Hollink. Mr. Garnet Brownbill. Miss Maria Poulos is still not here, who is speaking to the next item. Dr. Greta Werner speaking to item 13.5.
Hello, councillors, mayor, residents, nice to see you all. I'm speaking in support of Councillor Strong's motion for Bayside Council to publish information on sports fields on the council website. By council's own calculations, synthetic sports fields are about 2.8 times more expensive than the premium natural turf fields. So those are the fields at Barton Park that are actually very, that actually stand up to the rain very well. So the community is paying $45 per hour more than what it costs for the premium natural field for each synthetic field. And I think the community should know about this cost. So this is a cost that comes in addition to other drawbacks, which are listed on the New South Wales Chief Scientist's report, which are greater stress on players' feet, increased abrasion injuries, higher levels of water contamination, reduced soil health, increased heat, potential health risks, and of course odours from the synthetic turf. So there's a bit of a lack of available data on some aspects as well. The report says that we need more data on sports injuries, on the health risks of chemicals such as volatile organic compounds, plasticizers, antioxidants and additives. Also the effects on children. There haven't been very many studies on the effects of children. They have a higher risk due to their smaller size and developing bodies. Also the air pollutants from synthetic turf. So these are all things that are in the public interest and that are really important for the community to know, and they should be made available on Council's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Werner. Dr Teresa O'Brien speaking against the opposite recommendation.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm actually here to speak in favour. I can't remember if that was listed on the minutes, but I am in favour of Councillor Strong's proposal, in particular because the decision-making process should be evidence-based and public and transparent. For the players as well, they need to know what they expect to see from the field, whether that is in the form of a synthetic field, a hybrid system that combines both synthetic and natural turf, or an upgraded field that meets their needs as a natural surface. The existing proposal is to replace a multiple-use natural turf sports field with a single-use artificial one. We need confidence that all relevant information is public and that all relevant information is used in the decision-making process. There are a number of ongoing questions, in particular regarding cost, both the upfront capital cost of the synthetic field and the ongoing maintenance cost with regards to the potentially a lock-in contract of maintenance with the synthetic field provider, and also ongoing cleaning, because these synthetic fields do not have natural decomposition processes. They need to be cleaned, and that process itself has a cost associated with it. In addition, with costs, a robust comparison of the cost of this synthetic field to an upgraded natural one has not been provided to the best of my knowledge. The environmental impacts have also been explored, but not as transparently as they perhaps could be. One of the concerns with flooding in the existing field and floodwater runoff management is actually coming up in a North in Sydney field at the moment. It also has waterlogging problems. So this is Norman Griffiths Oval in North Sydney. It has currently had a cost overrun to the order of $17 million. It was originally proposed to be $3.3 million to replace a natural turf field with an artificial one. That has come out to be about $20 million, and the intervening time, the main sticking point has been management of floodwater and preventing runoff reaching the field and then waterlogging it, even though it is an artificial turf field. Other environmental concerns include the cleaning compounds and microplastics. Because the field needs to be cleaned in order to be maintained, that waste has to go somewhere, and this has not been addressed in the existing literature. So overall, the public needs to know this information, and I believe Councillor Strong's proposal gives access to that for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 13.9, Councillor Naji.
I know you're a very fair mayor. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, I was about to say the same.
No, that there's no glitch on the technical glitch because there's two speakers, Miss Maria Poulos and Mr. Brownbill. If we can get IT to confirm.
I've been assured by the General Manager that there's no IT problems.
Or if we could ring them to make sure, because I don't want any, I'm not saying that it will, but any allegations that we blocked them out or we didn't hear them or for whatever reason. So can we make that extra effort, GM? Thank you.
We will do that now. We do have an issue that we're looking at with YouTube, but not with our Teams connection, but we'll certainly give them a call now.
Thank you. Can I just clarify for the purposes of the public gallery, items with fewer speakers on them are allocated 3 minutes rather than 1 minute. So there's no sort of an equitable allocation of speaking time. It's just there were 10 speakers on one item. Item 13.9, notice of motion Boulevard Car Park redevelopment. Professor Elizabeth McMahon. No, not here. Item 13.12, traffic calming and pedestrian safety, Slade Road, Bardwell Valley. Mr. John Aquilina. Thank you, Mr. Aquilina.
Yes, thank you. I've been living in Slade Road for 18 years. I noticed the traffic's been getting more heavier. It's getting more dangerous. I noticed that streets next to Slade Road all have speed humps, except Slade Road itself. It's been called Slade Road since the 1850s, and there was horse and cart. So before that it was called Tepney Road. I'm just concerned that there's going to be a big major accident and a death. There's been many major accidents. I've got photos in the past. There's been hit and runs. And last week there's been an accident in Bayside Council in Bexley and Forest Road. I would like to know if you'll be able to help us to slow this traffic down. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jana Hiskova.
Good evening. Good evening all. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jana Hiskova. I live on Slade Road. This is my daughter Elise. I also have a 2-year-old who is back home, hopefully getting ready to sleep. That is responsibility tonight. I would like to share with you my experience as a resident and as a parent of young children living on Slade Road. Back in 2024, our car was parked right in front of our house on street, and it was hit by a passing vehicle in such a speed that it was a complete write-off. Luckily, no one was injured, but we were just about to put our newborn son into the car, so that experience really stayed with us. And now having 2 children, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Having 2 children, I really fear that I ever have to park on the street, because having to put 2 children who are depending on being put in a car seat is a real hazard on Slade Road. We also take our son on his balance bike along Slade Road to our local park and library. And I'm always anxious. It's at the back of my mind that the constant presence of speeding vehicles along the street. I would also like to point out that there is 1.3 kilometers of stretch on Slade Road that has no safe pedestrian crossing, which now having 2 children really impacts the way how we experience and navigate through our neighborhood. And that does not only impact me or my family, that impacts all the families that live along Slade Road, as well as elderly residents who have the right to safely navigate through their neighborhood, and they do rely on walking. I do acknowledge that Council has recently put in motion deploying the vehicle message signs along Slade Road. However, that solution is not impactful, and it's not going to deliver a lasting, meaningful improvement of the current situation. I do urge Council to consider and implement physical traffic calming measures like raised pedestrian crossing, or speed bumps or chicanes, or something that will really actively reduce the speed of the vehicles passing along Slade Road. And I ask Council to work with the residents to create a safer Slade Road and a more livable place for everyone involved, the residents, the pedestrians, the cyclists, the families. I want to be able to walk on the street where I live with my children without fear, and at the moment, I can't. Thank you.
Thank you. And for item 13.15, long-term financial planning for synthetic sports fields, against the officer's recommendation, Ms. Prue Freyinger.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts about the proposal of the new synthetic fields.
I appreciate the reason for wanting artificial turf, of course. As a soccer grandma, I'm at soccer every weekend in the soccer season, and it's terribly frustrating when it rains and the children can't play. However, it's so outweighed by all the negatives, and I apologise if I'm going to repeat what a previous speaker said, but I'll give you some of my opinions. After the controversy about a Gardner Park football field and the subsequent articles in the press and engagement of environmental scientists, it seems their expertise is being ignored. The materials used to construct a synthetic football field, polyethylene or polypropylene, and which both are non-biodegradable and terribly dangerous, and over time break into microplastics, polluting soil and waterways. The rubber infill, as everyone knows now, comes from used car tyres, containing heavy metals and volatile organic compounds, which also over a short time break down and leach into the soil. By the way, the EU has mandated that from 2030, no plastic turf has any sort of artificial infill, but we're still doing it. Synthetic turf does not absorb water, causing flood and strain on waterways and stormwater systems, which of course carry the above-mentioned components. We saw in Gardner Park the destruction of a 100-year-old stone wall as a result of this. Preparing the ground for synthetic turf requires virtually killing the subsoil, making it very difficult and expensive to reverse. And this results, of course, in loss of biodiversity. All the insects, plants, microcosm, it's all gone. And the heat effect of artificial turf is that it absorbs and retains heat. Sorry, the heat island effect it's called. Retains heat and has shown in multiple tests in Gardner Park that the surface can be between 40 and 50 degrees hotter than the air temperature. The manufacture of artificial turf also requires significant energy and resources, contributing to carbon emissions. Another massive environmental issue comes when the turf wears out.
Please wind up.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
On average from 8 to 10 years, and it's very difficult to recycle. On the health issues...
Sorry, everyone else is... What, sorry? No, it's 3 minutes for the other items, but that's your speaking time. Yes, it is. Right, thank you, Councillor.
So I have to finish now?
Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now joined online, I see, by a couple of our speakers. Call Professor Elizabeth McMahon speaking to, I believe it was item 13.12. 13.9, sorry. Professor
Yes,
McMahon.
hello. Did you want me to speak to that?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is in relation to the library in, that's correct? That's what we're talking about?
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's a bit better, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, we're talking about the library in Brighton the Sands?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, yes. Just for the record here, and I'm sorry to be abrupt because I'm rushing because I know I have little time. I'm a professor of literature at the University of New South Wales. I'm very involved in libraries. I've been involved in the 200-year State Library celebrations. Recently, was invited to give their first address. I've heard lots of people speaking about libraries. I've heard that from the Governor-General. I've heard that from the head of the Library Council, Bob Devers, and I've heard that from people on the ground, some of whom are losing their libraries in regional areas where they don't have sufficient population and they are beside themselves. So what I want to say is this, that libraries are so crucial to our culture. They're not hangovers of the past. They are of the future. They are being recognised as the brilliant social hubs that they are. They are being taken up for a whole range of different activities. They are not divided by ethnicity, race, religion, age or money. They are places where people can join together in a whole range of activities. They are being developed all across our city and across Australia. They are being recognised and developed for this purpose. In my role, I have developed a lot of resources for libraries, for digitisation and all sorts of kind of activities and research activities for school students and for the community. I go and speak at them all the time. They are living hubs of our culture. And I just plead with you to please protect this. It is not a remnant of the past. It is crucial for the future. And they are parts of the community that bring people together. They do not require people to move. They are local. They can walk there. They are appealing to all age groups. They give kids who are living in crowded places to study. They give everyone equal access to resources that they might not have at home. So please protect this. There are lots of people in our communities, and I appreciate the brilliance of, Brighton Le Sands in all its many ways, but it still needs its library. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor McMahon. I think Ms Maria Poulos speaking to item 13.1.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors. I'm sorry I missed the earlier debate, the earlier speech, but I'm also here to support the rescission motion, item 13.1, on the 4 proposed synthetic fields at Jellicoe Park, Kingsgrove Avenue and Mascot. And I'm here representing residents from No Overdevelopment, Pagewood East Gardens, and also the different environment groups in Bayside area. And I want to thank those councillors that have been studying this and are doing their due diligence on the environmental costs of microplastics. Because I think the environmental facts are clear. The Cooks River, as you've heard already, is the most microplastic polluted waterway in New South Wales. Muddy Creek also is among the worst, and Botany Bay is heavily contaminated. And I learned from Deputy Mayor on social media that at Kaima Beach, around 7% of microplastics are synthetic grass fragments concentrated exactly where stormwater from our parks enter the sea. Now, that is the local reality, and that is the system these fields sit within. So when we're talking about installing 4 new synthetic fields, we're not talking about a contained piece of infrastructure. We are talking about adding more material into a catchment that is already heavily polluted.
Thank you. Please wind up.
Oh, is that? Gosh, that was quick. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, wait, I haven't finished. Sorry.
Yeah, everyone, there have been nearly 20 speakers tonight and everyone's kept to their speaking time.
Okay, so just to quickly say, yeah, thank you. I urge you to support the rescission motion because we should be applying the precautionary principle here. And I really do thank councillors that attended that workshop recently on the microplastics. I think it's really good that they're doing their due diligence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Just before we conclude the public forum, is Mr. Thomas Giatzos here? Right. Declare the public forum closed at 7:05 p.m. We'll have a few minutes break and then begin the council meeting. Thank you. All right, thank you, councillors, members of the staff and public. Councillors, if you can grab your seats again.
You need your gavel.
Yeah.
Gavel.
Thank you. Bit of quiet, please. We're getting underway. Welcome to councillors, members of the public. Sorry, there's no talking in the gallery. There's another room if you'd like to grab a seat there, and you're welcome to continue conversing. Welcome to councillors, members of the public and staff. My name is Councillor Ed McDougall, Mayor of Bayside, and declare this council meeting open at 7:14 p.m. Councillors and those present in the chamber are reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual and use appropriate language and tone. Council meetings are live streamed and recorded via YouTube. Please therefore treat everyone with dignity, respect, and do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Councillors are reminded of their obligations to conduct yourselves in a professional and respectful manner under the obligations of Council's Code of Meeting Practice in the interest of good governance and to adhere to meeting etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of Council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of the Council staff, exit via the Town Hall foyer and proceed to the evacuation point. I'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. On behalf of Bayside Council, I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I now invite Reverend Jim Ferguson of Bexley Baptist Church to open our meeting in prayer.
Let's pray, shall we? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening that we can come in this way tonight to this meeting. We thank you, Lord, that your word reminds us that your name is blessed forever and ever, that wisdom and might are yours, and you change the times and the seasons in this world. You remove kings and you raise up kings. You give wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. Lord, we do pray for peace in this world. We recognise, Lord, that around the world today there are many conflicts, and we just pray that you'll put your hand upon them and bring peace into the hearts of men in the midst of those conflicts. And here for this meeting tonight, Lord, we ask that you would place your sovereign hand upon all who are involved in this meeting. Grant them wisdom, grant them, our Lord, understanding, as they seek to deal with matters before them in this way tonight. And we pray, Lord, that you would richly bless their deliberations, and that, Lord, those deliberations will be for the benefit of all those who live in this municipality. We commend this to you, Lord, knowing that you are the one who is sovereign over all decisions of men and all activities of men, and we commend this to you in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Ferguson. I've received no condolences this evening. Does any councillor have any condolences to put forward? No, thank you, councillors. We have two certificates to present this evening, both to outstanding young athletes. Sorry, Councillor Kasim.
Yes. So I would like to stand in condolence for the death of Dennis Ballas, an 89-year-old resident of Scalabrini village. He was killed in broad daylight after being struck at 2:20 p.m. last Thursday, the 16th of April. A motor vehicle death is always a tragedy, but in this case it's noteworthy for two things: where it took place, Forest Road, and that the vehicle which hit Mr. Ballas was a truck. I have totally, absolutely nothing against truck drivers. They carry out a very essential service, and at the moment at considerable cost themselves. And I also understand that they will naturally take the least cost option available to them. However, the New South Wales Government does need to take responsibility for covering the cost of trucks coming off Forest Road. Bexley is a town centre, so naturally people like Mr. Ballas will be walking along the road. Council has repeatedly made representations to the New South Wales Government on this point. This tragedy last week is a reminder of the need to return to the Government and ask that resolution of this problem be expedited. I'm foreshadow that as the convener of the Traffic Forum that I will propose that we seek further information from the government on the impact of accidents and fatalities on Forest Road since trucks were on the road compared to before, in the hope that this will further strengthen our advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kasim. Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillor Kasim, can you turn off your microphone, please? And can someone just do me a favour and flick that off? There we go. It's remote.
Yeah, all
Thank
good.
you, Councillor Saravinovsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 1st of April, tragically, Fortini Yasalilka was a proud local resident of Ward 5 in Monterey. She was a proud Australian Greek, which was always known for helping her fellow residents and Greek community here in Bayside. She leaves behind her proud daughters, Rula and Theoni Angelopoulos, and her grandchildren. My condolences are with her and her loved ones. Thank you.
Councillor Saravinovsky. Anything further, councillors? No, thank you. We have a number of certificates to present this evening. First off, I'm delighted this evening to recognise Avir Paddle Chaudhry, a very talented young athlete from our Bayside community. Avir is representing Australia in the 2025 Youth Sailing World Championships in Portugal in December. On behalf of Bayside Council, we wish Avir every success in her competition later this year. So I think that's a typo. I'd like to invite Avir to please come forward and accept the certificate of congratulations from council, and any councillors please join us in celebrating this wonderful young athlete. Next, we're recognising Marley Main, another very talented young athlete from our Bayside community. Marley is representing Australia with the under-17 national flag football team in the Junior International Cup in Los Angeles in June. On behalf of Bayside Council, I'm sure Marley will have fantastic success in the competition later this year. I'd like to invite Marley to come forward to accept this certificate of congratulations, and any councillors who would like to join us, wish her all the best. I think we've been asked if Bobby can come forward for a photo as well. Congratulations, certainly making an the Main family making an outsized contribution to local sport in Bayside. Apologies, leave of absence, attended by already a visual link. I don't believe we have any apologies tonight. All councillors are present. Does any councillor wish to make any disclosures of interest? Councillor Curry, Morrissey, Bezic, Boudelet, Strong, Sim, Brederhoft, Saravinovsky.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to disclose a non-significant non-pecuniary for the rescission motion 13.1 and 13.2, just to remain consistent with the previous disclosure of interest on the original matter.
Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It just brought to my attention 11.1, and I'll pull that item out later at the appropriate process. But in F, it refers to a lot of shopping centres with the food dining, so it's non-significant, non-pecuniary interest. When I pull out the item, I'll be talking about the synthetic rates and things like that. Thank you.
Councillor Naji, Councillor Disco, Councillor Awada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Poulos, Councillor Douglas.
I'd like to declare a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest for my motion 13.16 around participation in the Community Power Network, as through my daytime employment, I do work on renewable energy and urban renewable energy zones.
Thank you. And we have, just to note, a disclosure from Councillor Kasim carrying over from the committees in relation to CS 26.017. Minutes of the previous meeting, the meeting of the 25th of March 2026. Do I have a mover and a seconder? I move Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Barlow. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We have two mayoral minutes that have been circulated tonight. In the interest of all the people staying from the public forum, I will be very brief. Item 9.1, Ron Rathbone Local Historical Competition. This year is the 20th anniversary of the Ron Rathbone Award for Local History. I know that Councillor Barlow will want to speak to this and do so more eloquently than I will, so I might just leave it there. But it's a very long-running, important local history prize and makes a substantial contribution to our area's history and community.
I just want to thank the Mayor for putting up this mayoral minute, because Ron, I was very lucky to have served with Ron one term, with Ron on council. He and my other colleague in Ward 4, the late Steve Holroyd, they were my mentors and they were wonderful. They just had wonderful ideas, but also the history that they had, which I gather I might have a little bit of it now as well. But I just thank you very much for that, because he was a wonderful man. He was so humble, and for someone not to ever take his money, his allowance, and then to donate it back. And he was a local historian and wrote many books. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll be as brief as possible. The late Ron Rathbone, he was my teacher at primary school, and he is really the reason that I ran for council. He called me up and made sure that I run for council, and for whatever reason, here I am here 23 years later. And not only he was a humble man, but he was one of the most highest integrity, honesty, you name it. He served the community so well, and he delivered to by that time it was called Rockdale City Council. He served the community and he delivered so many projects, and one of them is that Novotel Hotel. That's just one out of so many and so many. And also he has written his 3 books, 3 historian books, and I've read them all and I've learned a lot, not only about Arncliffe, but St Susie and other areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Any further speakers? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 9.2, Local Government Professionals Australia New South Wales Awards for Excellence. I'm very pleased to announce that Bayside Council has been recognised as finalist in the prestigious Local Government Professionals Australia New South Wales Awards for Excellence 2026. We've been shortlisted in 2 major categories for councillors with populations over 100,000. First, in the environmental leadership category, we've been named as finalists for our inaugural and very successful Project Planet initiative, which demonstrates our commitment to sustainability, climate action and creating a resilient future for our community. And in the customer experience category, council has been named a finalist for the Be Better for Bayside, a transformative program focused on improving how we interact with our community, streamline service and deliver a more responsive, people-centred experience. At the centre of both of these is really the excellence of our staff who work so hard to deliver services across so many parts of our community. They are really what makes our council. So I would just like to congratulate staff for getting this far and wish them all the best in the awards. Any further speakers, councillors? Councillor Strong.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge these nominations reflect Bayside Council as a mover and shaker internally in how we engage with the community. On Be Better for Bayside, it's about making council easier to deal with, less fragmentation, clearer communication and systems that actually serve residents. This kind of organisational reform is a welcome development. On Project Planet, I'm particularly proud of this one. A bit of a feather in a hat. This event came from a motion I brought to create a space where community could come together around climate, sustainability and resilience. My council profile pic is still me in an inflatable frog outfit at last year's event. And this event really oscillated well with our fabulous environmental department, who did a great job on the day to do a really good inaugural event. And I look forward to the next one in October next year. And it's just a reminder that councils are not powerless in big challenges like climate change, we can convene, educate, and we can help drive real change. So I'm really glad these projects got recognised. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strong. Any further discussion? Thank you, councillors. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We'll now proceed to deal with the remainder of the business paper by exception. Councillors, the items where a division is required for planning matters, the notice of motion and items where councillors have declared a pecuniary and or significant interest or wish to speak to a matter will be dealt with individually. Are there any other items you wish to pull out and deal with individually? Councillor Curry, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Bezage, Councillor Boudelet, Councillor Strong, Councillor Kassim, Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Savranovsky, Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. 11.1, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dusku, Councillor Rawada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Poulos.
CWA 26.010, the Dawes Point Wharf, and CS 26.14.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
I would like to pull out CS 26.016.
Thank you. Being said, all other items will be dealt with by one resolution. May I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Morrissey, second Councillor Bezage. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Moving to item 11.1, I just want to begin by making a few comments about this item, and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder. The budget being adopted tonight for exhibition was largely developed prior to 28 February 2026 and the beginning of the major conflict in Iran. Since early March, fuel prices have soared, impacting what we pay for fuel to run our heavy fleet passenger vehicles and small plant and equipment. Our direct fuel bill increased by approximately $50,000 per month and is continuing to do so, and the outlook is obviously very uncertain, as the whole of society is experiencing. Current contracts are also impacted. Our road resheeting costs for the remainder of the financial year have increased by approximately $500,000 above the prices we were paying earlier this year. And as many would see associated with the heavy vehicle industry, from this week we're required to negotiate a fuel levy with suppliers whose goods and services include a cost component for road transport. We're currently calculating what that means for larger contracts such as waste collections. We raise this because council will need to make an internal submission to the budget while it's on exhibition based on the best information at hand and price trends over the next few weeks. Depending on the length and severity of the fuel crisis, this may mean partial deferral of some services or rescoping or rescheduling of projects, particularly construction projects. Domestic waste charges will also need to be reviewed. Councillors, please be aware this is not a business as usual, and the increase in fuel costs if protracted will have a real impact on our ability to provide the full package of services, including in our draft operational plan. And this is really being experienced across the entire sector and in society more broadly. But as cost-constrained entities that set our budget in the year in advance, when there are massive shocks or then there are large shocks, they're difficult to deal with, and we may have to make some tough decisions in our program. Additionally, I'd like to bring to your attention a minor typographical error in the published business paper for item 11.1 on page 70 of the agenda. For the synthetic concrete pitches standard, where the fees in the table should, rather than reading $22 for local sporting and community hire, it should read $10.34. For non-local sporting and community hire, instead of reading $41.50, it should read $41.40. Is this up on the screen? No.
It's only, sorry, it's from that to that.
Oh, apologies. It's only in the column 1, current 2025-26 fee, which is very unhelpful. It doesn't actually matter the resolution, but $22 should read $21, $41.50 should read $57.50, and $83 should read $73. Please note that the draft operational plan and budget as actually attached to the report is correct and not changes to the new draft proposed 2026-27 fees are required as a result. With that being said, do I have a mover and a seconder for the motion? Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just on page 50, 11.1, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Councillor Naji.
No, that's all right. 11.1 on page 50, about the fees for the synthetic fees. I noticed that what we currently charge and what we're proposing is 120% increase, Mr Mayor. Now, that's a huge increase in one go, and if I can move to put it in as an increment increase of 22% over 4 years, I think it's fair, because we don't want to have a perception that we are putting tax on our kids, taxing our kids. So with today's climate and the economy, Mr Mayor, so I think if my colleagues will support this, we will get there, but over 4 years, 22% increment increase, I think it's fair. And I've spoken to most of the clubs, they're expecting an increase. It is expected, but not at 120%. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Douglas.
This is on a separate suggestion, which is very proud that we are commencing our Innovate Reconciliation Action Plan for 2026 to 2028. And I was hoping that we could put a budget line in the budget to pay our Reconciliation Action Plan group, the committee, an honorarium to support their time rather than them donating their time.
Through the chair, I think that would be something that we would want to consider during the exhibition period, because we have more than one advisory group and we need to look at the parity and the fairness across other groups before we single out one and suggest making a payment to that one group as opposed to others. So happy to look at that during the exhibition period and come back with a suggestion to council.
Could I ask for one other, if you are looking at that, could you have a look at what other councils are doing as a precedent? Thank you.
Thank you. That can be reported back. So just to note, we have an amendment or an additional item to phase the synthetic pitch increases given the volume in over 4 years. Is that correct? Yes. Yep. Any further discussion? Councillors Bretterhoft?
Yeah, with that amendment, do we need to do this now or can we also do this after we've done the consultation?
Well, the idea is that is what it would go out on consultation, and then after it comes back from consultation, that's when we actually adopt the budget. Any further discussion, councillors?
I would support going out as the original. We've had time at committee to look through it. We've had time to read the papers. We haven't had time to digest what this means. We've had a full council presentation on the budget and the impacts of the financials of synthetic field. And I feel like a change at this point is a little bit late. We've had multiple opportunities to make that before it goes on to public consultation. So could we defer this amendment until after we've heard back from the public?
I think it would be I imagine that sounds like a foreshadowed motion. Councillor Kasim?
Yes, I'm just wondering if I could, through the chair, ask the General Manager what is, if you like, normal practice on over how many years these sorts of fees and charges. Would it normally be 2 years, 3 years or 4 years? Like what would be the normal?
Through the chair, not sure there is a normal. I think what councillors would normally consider would be the impact on those that are going to have to pay the new fee. And it's quite within reason to look at staging. We've done that when we've harmonised other fees in the past. That's been a protocol that we've used, not necessarily using a particular timescale, but we've certainly done it in a way that we felt would be affordable for whoever was having to pay that fee.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
Reply quickly.
Any further discussion before the right of reply? No. Councillor Bezic? Would you prefer, given I think you want to move a foreshadowed motion, Councillor Douglas, I think Councillor Bezic is proposing to second the original motion.
Look, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's as simple as this. You either vote for it or you don't. Okay, the clubs have expressed the hardships and the financial hardships that all clubs are facing. So to hit them with 120% increase in one go is crazy. Are we supposed to be supporting our kids, our youth, our sports people? Or are we going to put tax on kids? Tax on kids, that's what it looks at, 120%. So it is normal. to have it at increment. And look at it. It's not CPI increase. We suggested 22% increase over 4 years. And I think the clubs will be able to take that on board and agree with it. So this is what I'm proposing. Enough of other councillors saying, oh, you know, it's their right, by the way, it's their right. But you either vote for it or you vote against it. You're either for sport or you're not for sport. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. I feel there are people waiting here, Councillor Naji, but nevertheless we'll have a division. Councillor Curry. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezic. Councillor Boudeleau. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Tavranovsky. Councillor Naji. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Sorry, Councillor Douglas. And myself for. Declare it carried. We don't need clapping. Item CWA 26.010, Dolls Point Wharf update. I've moved into seconder. Moved Councillor Dusku. Seconded Councillor Awada. Councillor Dusku. Waive your right to speak. And Councillor Poulos wanted to speak to this item. Councillor Poulos.
No one else wanting to speak, obviously. I'm wanting to ask the Mayor to seek to amend the committee recommendation with the following motions. I've got a copy of the motion, motion if you'd like. Can I send you an email, or would you like a list of what I'm wanting to amend the recommendation to?
Perhaps you can either provide, there we go. Do we have, does
I can
governance
send
have it?
No, I can send it now. So I'll just read it through. I can provide you with a copy if you want. So I'm seeking to amend the committee recommendation with the following motions as follows. That the Dolls Wharf update report be received and noted. Number 2, that the council no longer endorse the demolition of Dolls Point Wharf. Number 3, that a detailed design and feasibility report be prepared and returned to the City Works and Asset Committee within 6 months, outlining the options for the full restoration of Dolls Point Wharf. The report is to include replacement of the existing deck with suitable alternative materials, scope to extend the wharf with a floating pontoon to improve safe and public access, detailed specifications to return the wharf to safe community use for an expected design life of 40 to 50 years. Item number 4, subject to the recommendations of the above report, Council allocates funding for the restoration works from the 27-28 Capital Works budget or a subsequent Capital Works program. Item number 5, that the General Manager be authorised to advise Transport for New South Wales of Council's decision to restore and maintain the wharf and to formally apply for granting of an appropriate licence or agreement to enable the restoration works and the ongoing safe community use of this structure. Item number 6, that the wharf remains closed to the public until the restoration works are complete and certified as safe.
Councillor Poulos. Further discussion? Councillor Douglas.
I want to take the time to read out a submission from somebody in the audience who wasn't able to make a verbal submission around the environmental benefits of the existing piers. So she has consulted with a marine biologist and shared imagery from low tide, which shows an oyster population capable of filtering up to 50 litres of water per day, improving water quality. Marine conjovoirs are also present, a species protected in parts of Sydney Harbour, filtering water and providing habitat with cultural significance as a traditional First Nations food source, and she points out that it's a sheltered nursery for fish fry, including bream and whiting, supporting biodiversity and contributing to the health of the broader bay. Her concerns around loss of habitat. So I wondered if we could make an additional point there, Councillor Poulos, that the environmental sensitivity of the design be considered in the renewal.
Sure.
Councillor Strong.
I have to admit, initially I was in favour of demolition, but on first look, all is not what it appears. It's, you know, I've learned as a councillor, you know, you've got to be open-minded and listen to other opinions. I did think, yep, it sounds like it really needs to be demolished, but now I think the opposite. I went down there and I visited the pier. I've met some fisher, some teenagers there that just loved it, and they were, when I asked them what they thought of the demolition idea, they were quite upset. So just looking over the bay, I realised, you know, we're not just talking about a structure, but also potential, you know, and I think Councillor Vicky Poulos was correct in applying the brakes on the demolition. You know, 450k to demolish or 650 to renew, I reckon it's better to spend the extra money to keep it as a resource, you know, and rather than make something disappear, invest in something to create something lasting. Because imagine what it could be. You could have summer concerts there, moonlight cinema, music drifting over the water as the sun goes down. It could be another kind of open-air venue space, families on picnic rugs. You know, this is a beautiful place for fishing, walking, or just sitting and doing nothing, which is important these days. So the advice tells us the core structures, the piers, the headstocks are sound. This is an opportunity, because once we demolish it, it's gone. So I'm in favour of re-looking at it for the potential that it is and keeping it. Thank you.
Councillor Strong. Further discussion? Councillor Barlow and Councillor Bigelow.
Just when the report comes back, could they, the floating pontoon really does concern me with the wave patterns and everything that happens in the bay, and it is dangerous, and we end up with sand over onto the footpath. So I think you'd have to convince me that that would never move, and I can't see it not moving with the way. So I think wharf's great, but I think a floating anything in our bay is too dangerous.
Councillor Barlow, Councillor Bigelow.
I agree with that.
Just a quick one to commend Councillor Poulos on bringing this forward. It seems like there's a lot of support for this online as well, and I think this way you're creating a community asset there for people to use 40, 50 years into the future, and if you look at the costs, there isn't that much difference, so why not build something that the community can keep using for years to come? Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. There was a lot of discussion at the committee and in the original report around the public safety risk and the costs. So there was discussion, the committee talked about raising those concerns about people getting onto the structure. There's also a licensing cost to council and also the restoration. So there was actually quite robust and healthy discussion, which was good, and it was resolved that we reuse some of those materials close by as a nod to the wharf and its history. But at the time, at the committee, the risk to the public was quite great, and the fact that there's so much sand movement and tidal movement, it's very difficult to. So I didn't know this was coming out, so I'm talking off the cuff here. It's very hard to access in its current form, and spending more money in such a harsh environment is almost a lost cause. So if I maybe just ask the General Manager to comment on the risk to the public with the current structure and what it might look like, even if we were to restore it, given that there's still tide and the sand, there's so much movement of the sand in that location.
General Manager.
Thank you through the chair. The discussion that we had at committee was very much focused on the existing safety risk that we are all exposed to at the moment. We would need to have staff look at what sort of design could be implemented to make this safe. We haven't done that work at the moment because that wasn't an option that council was considering previously. So we would need to go away and see what could be done. As you know, part of the wharf has already been demolished to discourage people going onto it. the shallowness of the water there and the movement of the water makes it currently very unsafe. So to reinstate it in a way that we could all feel confident that we were managing any risk associated with that, we need to take that away and have a think and do some redesign work on that. And of course, I would remind councillors, there will be a cost to that redesign work. So you will need to vote a budget for us to be able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, General Manager. With that in mind, I'd just like to move a foreshadowed motion that the original committee recommendation stands, which is, I don't think it's up there, but it's, in principle, it's a demolition of the wharf and to use the timbers on site for an art installation and thereabouts. But the original, I'm seeking that the original motion, the original committee recommendation stands, so that'll be a foreshadowed motion now. And I'd seek the support of my councillor friends to have that passed. Thank you.
Councillor Morrissey, further discussion? Councillor Douglas.
I respect the environmental integrity of what this site could be, but also have safety concerns as well, which were discussed at the committee, particularly around an incident that happened to a young man when he was 5 years old at Coffs Harbour Jetty, where he fell off railings onto the sand and was left with irreparable injuries. Completely life-changing injuries for his whole family. He hasn't been able to finish school, he can't read. You know, there are significant safety concerns if we're leaving a structure above sand or above very shallow water and encouraging people to potentially jump off that site. So, you know, I was deeply impacted by Ted's story and the story of his injury. So, but I also recognise the environmental concerns here. So I wonder, Mr. Councillor Morrissey, if you might be able to consider amending your motion to leave the wooden piers, your foreshadowed motion, the wooden piers there, so that they could continue to be an artwork in situ with the environmental benefits, or if the chair could, if the General Manager could comment on whether that would be safe or not to do that. Could we then add to investigate leaving the wooden piers in situ for their environmental benefits? Yeah, but also, sorry, that there was talk about that they could also have artwork added to them as well. So you could have them as an artwork, but it would just be the piers for their oysters and their Thank you.
Councillors, further discussion.
I'd like my name to be recorded against the foreshadowed motion because I actually believe that I put up the foreshadowed motion with what I actually have submitted. So
I think we're accepting that the mover and the seconder of the motion are putting forward your motion.
Well, that's not my motion, though. That's to demolish.
I think governance have copy and pasted your motion below this, I believe, which is unhelpful. But I think they've got this round the wrong way. There we go. So this is. I get that we understand that this below here is.
Well, I actually proposed to actually change the motion, and obviously that has not carried because Councillor Morrissey has put up a foreshadowed motion over my foreshadowed motion. Is that right?
No, I think despite what's on the screen, I think the motion as put is your motion. Yes. And Councillor Morrissey has proposed a foreshadowed motion.
So then we'll call a division for the.
Well, I think once discussion is done for your motion is voted on first. Yeah. So what we're considering is
my recommendation.
Not this. If you just scroll down. Sorry, scroll up. There we go. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Sim?
Sorry, so just to clarify with the foreshadowed motion, then Councillor Morrissey, I presume we're taking out the word fully, so it would be in two.
This is the motion to be discussed first of all, and then we'll come,
okay.
if needed, we'll come to the other
That's
motion.
fine, yep.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Brederhaft.
Can I ask just a question? The $650,000 for restoring the wharf, does that include improving safety and everything, or would that be extra cost? If that, could I ask that to the General Manager,
General
please?
Manager, or do we have Ms Farrell here?
Through the chair, those figures were indicative and not detailed. So we wouldn't be able to come back to you with the exact costing. That's the ballpark figure. Obviously, if we were rebuilding the wharf, it would be done to contemporary standards and with the safety features required. But the 650 is a somewhat older figure and it is indicative. And I guess what you're really thinking about is the difference between the various options that we put up to committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Naji.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I can see where Councillor Poulos is coming from. It's a ward and it's overwhelmingly supported by the residents to keep that structure. Now, I'm surprised when we come up and say it's going to cost $650,000 to restore and not have taken the consideration of safety. So how could you restore something that without taking safety issues in hand? So therefore, whatever the case may be, the community, we've got to listen to the community. They want it there. They want it restored. So if we can provide with safety and so on, so let's come back to this council and tell us, look, it's going to cost $1, $1 million, 800,000. Because if we demolish it for 450,000, take the wood for artworks, we don't know the cost of it either. It could cost just the same as restoring it. So what is the benefit for the community? What does the community want? And I think that's what we should do. Listen to the community and deliver.
Councillor Naji, any further discussion?
Just going to voice before, obviously, we go into the foreshadow motion. So obviously, there's been an overwhelming response from the local community in support of saving the wharf from demolition, which I know some of you have seen. We've also got some of the community members. Unfortunately, they did miss the cut-off for speaking, and they have actually raised some biodiversity concerns and obviously just the overall aspect of an asset that is there currently in a somewhat dilapidated state, but can be revitalised for our community. They can all be managed. There are similar wharves all along the coastline that face the same issues. We're not unique. We don't, everywhere we have sand everywhere. Yes, there are incidents, but there are ways that we can actually mitigate these risks. There are incidents in everyday life that we do have risks, and we take those precautions. And I'm not saying, just keep it in its current state. There is quite a bit of work that needs to be done. And as I have mentioned, and I have actually asked for a detailed report within 6 months. It's not overnight. I'm asking for a 6-month report to look at something that will last for 50 years for visitors and families to come and enjoy the benefits of the wharf and enjoy passive recreation activities. Councillor Strong mentioned the fishing community. There's quite a bit fishing community, there's a sailing community. It's very, once something like this is gone, it's gone. And that is something that I don't want to be or have my name against, the demolition of something that could have been retained. Now, so for that reason, I commend my motion and I ask for all of you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I might just comment very quickly, so I would have said it before you write a reply, but look, if Councillor Poulos' motion is supported tonight, I really want to understand how much time this pier actually spends in the water. I mean, it's sandlogged most of the time. If we're talking about it being used for fishing, I don't see how practical or feasible that is for the vast majority of the year.
It's not completely out of the ground, Mr. Mayor. I went down at low tide. I took time out of my time with one of the council officers, Councillor Strong. The deputy mayor went out. It actually isn't fully out of the water, so it's not like it is, on the sands wholly. And there is an element of dilapidation, but that is because we have obviously not maintained in recent times. The general manager has also mentioned the licence. For those who don't know, the licence is $50. So it's not a significant amount of money. It's only $50. So to me, for $50, I think it's worth exploring, looking at something, keeping something there for our future generations. And the works that we do now will actually, retain this asset for 40 to 50 years. I don't want to be the person that, noted down as being the person who deleted that from our coastline. Thank you.
Yes, Poulos. Put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? No. Division's being called. Councillor Curry? Against. Councillor Morrissey? Against. Councillor Bezic? Councillor Boudelot? Councillor Strong? Councillor Kassim? Councillor Brederhoft? Councillor Saravinovsky? Against. Councillor Naji? Councillor Dusku? Councillor Iwata? Against. Councillor Barlow? Councillor Poulos? Councillor Douglas? And myself against. Declare the motion lost. Item CS 26.014. Oh, sorry, the foreshadowed motion. Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Curry. Discussion, councillors.
Can we go back? Because that was
Yeah.
5-4.
No, it was 8-7. Or 7-8 rather. Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe that was recorded incorrectly, but the vote was, I recorded it correctly. No one disagrees with you, Councillor Barlow, except maybe governance. Yeah, the record needs to be fixed up. The General Manager is indicating that they will fix it based on the recording. Foreshadowed motion. Any speakers, councillors? Division's being called. Given they're trying to figure this out, I might wait until they get a division up. Yeah. Dusku should be, Councillor Dusku should be in 4, and Councillor Poulos shouldn't be. What, sorry? It's 8-7. It's, we have a full complement. All right. All right. We now have a division for the foreshadowed motion.
Could we just... Sorry. Can you get it up on the screen in boxes? We're doing another division now. Yeah. Yes, so let's get the division up, so we can see it. Thank you.
We're a bit laggy on the...
So we've got the
All right.
division up? Yep.
Councillor Curry.
For.
Councillor Morrissey.
For.
Councillor Bezic. Councillor Boudelot. Councillor Strong. This is for the foreshadowed motion. Well, we asked if anyone wanted to discuss it and no. Yeah, Councillor Kasim.
Okay, that's all right there.
Yeah. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Savranovsky. Councillor Naji. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. And myself 4. Declare the motion carried because Councillor Discu was out. I can. What? Sorry. No, you were out of the room. I'm sure we can re-debate this if we want a rescission motion or something. So we can recommit the motion. What? Sorry. Yes, but you're out of the room. What? Sorry. That should have been. What? Sorry. Sorry. Either way, regardless, the motion was lost, so we now have no resolution. Well done. Councillors, should we maybe recommit it and have another discussion around this? Because clearly we should resolve to do something. The number of abstentions mean that both motions were lost.
So can we go back to my recommendation to just consider...
Well, I think first... Sorry, Councillor Morrissey would like to speak to his foreshadowed motion.
Okay, so I think just to provide clarity, because Councillor Douglas added point 6, and that conflicts a little bit with point 2. So we just have to say to investigate wooden piers and What's that word? For their environment. And if there is, and if they can be kept, it will not be fully demolished. It's just it's that fully demolished because it'll still be partially there.
All right. So further discussion.
So it's just changed. Yeah, number 2. It means that we're not fully demolishing.
Yes.
Yeah, Councillor Sam.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Morrissey. That's what I was hoping, so that 2 should read something like the council will endorse the proposal to demolish the unsafe portions of the Dolls Point Wharf.
We'll just look at.
Yeah.
Can we define what the unsafe portions are? Because
I'd assume an engineer would figure that out. Further discussion, councillors. Councillor Douglas.
I think what would really help for me personally is seeing we sometimes get Google Maps over a period of time which shows, like we've down at Muddy Creek, what has happened in that area. I would really like to see that for this site. My memory of living here for the last 10 plus years is that it has primarily been a stranded asset surrounded by sand. It's only recently that it's been touching water, again from my memory, but I would like to see that from the council staff, a catalogue of Google Maps showing what is the situation with this pier over the last, say, 10, 15 years, and what percentage of that time has it been safe, has it been usable for fishing, for recreational purposes, without creating an undue risk to residents.
Thank you, councillors. Further discussion.
can I make a suggestion that we potentially add my point 3 to the foreshadowed motion and have that a detailed design and feasibility report be prepared and returned to the City Works assets? All right, well, I want my name put against it.
There'll be a division. Councillors, further discussion. Division. I would encourage councillors abstaining that, it's not making decisions. Probably then should have a further foreshadowed motion. But Councillor Curry. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezich. Councillor Boudelet. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Savranovsky. Councillor Naji. Councillor Discu. Councillor Ruada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. And myself for declare the motion carried. Item CS 26.014, response to notice of motion towing of vehicles obstructing driveways. Move, Councillor Poulos.
A question with regards to the after hours ranger contact. We don't have, I've had an instance where I've had a resident contact me several times with regards to someone parking in their driveway which is not clearly marked. I'm just wanting to get some clarity with regards to the after hours rangers contact information and the hours that they are available.
General Manager.
Through the chair, we can certainly provide that to councillors. At the moment, we are trialling later hours on a couple of nights a week. If it is after the rangers shift, we would recommend that people call the police. We don't have after hours rangers on call at, after, I think it's 9 p.m. So at that point, there isn't the after hours service is taking a message service. It's not staff on duty after that time.
So we're getting ourselves into a little bit of a pickle there when I'm getting the residents who are actually contacting the police and the police are saying contact your council. So I think we need to sort of look at what we are actually doing, especially when it's becoming more and more, prevalent in the areas or the high sort of volume areas during summer, and with the nighttime economy. I think that we need to actually look at, considering what services we're offering and maybe considering extending it, especially on Friday, Saturday and Sunday nights, where we do have a lot of incidences where people are being blocked in. There have been situations of where people are in an emergency situation, they're unable to get out of their driveway because some inconsiderate person has just parked over their driveway.
Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr Mayor, if I could be of assistance, I think the council could come back to us for a trial period of having one ranger after hours, see the costing, and if there's a lot of breaches, and I'm sorry to say, when someone is in breach, you get fined. So maybe we recoup the wages of that one ranger, but we are providing a service to the community. Maybe we should consider that, and the council can come back and get back to us of, let's say it costs so much per annum, and then we might trial it and see. And I think if there's been a lot of reported breaches after hours, I'm sure we can recoup the wages, because it's all about budgetary and it's all about financials. So I think if I can assist, if we can do that, it'll be great. And see, come back, then we're having a service to the residents after hours. A ranger is available. I think all we need one for the whole of LGA after hours, and I'm sure we've got so many during business hours.
Councillor Awada.
Yeah, sorry, Mr Mayor, we can't expect council to do the job of the police. If someone calls at midnight, are we expected to have a ranger after hours attending at midnight or 11 or 1 in the morning? Look, I've had instances where people call someone who's parked literally about maybe 20 centimetres into their driveway and they can't come out because they probably shouldn't have been given a driving licence to come out. So I think it's unreasonable to ask council to have rangers work after 8 p.m. So if there's an issue, and I think I have read a report from our compliance team, there hasn't been many non-compliances as far as people parking driveways. So I disagree that we should have rangers after 8 p.m. Thank you.
Councillor Awada. Councillor Naji, just very quickly, given you've already spoken.
Yes, just for clarification, Mr Mayor, and I respect Councillor Awada, he's a dear friend and a brother to me, but if you look at the LGC, the St George Police at Cogra and Hurstville, we are 80 police officers short. So obviously they're not going to worry about a car blocking the driveway. It's not a priority. They've got so much on with so much short resources, not only in our LGA, but all across the state. So it makes common sense, not at midnight, but if we can have a ranger up to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and then see what's the costing, and I'm sure we can recoup through the fines. The police not going to attend for a driveway, someone blocking the driveway and coming out when they are 80 officers down. And you can ask the superintendent and he'll tell you, he told me himself, they are struggling for police resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour? Councillor Poulos isn't moving the motion, so we need a mover and a seconder. Do we have a mover and a seconder for the motion? Towing policy, move Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Boudelay. All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Item CS 26.016, Draft Innovate Reconciliation Action Plan 2026 to 2028.
I pulled this out simply because
Move Councillor Douglas. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Douglas.
I pulled this out. I do understand
So
that.
there's a bit too much chat in the audience. We are moving to the notices of motion next. Councillor Douglas.
I do understand that it's difficult to change the Innovate Reconciliation Plan, but I wondered if Council had considered some sort of procurement policy to go alongside the Innovate Reconciliation Plan to support local First Nations community businesses.
General Manager.
Through the chair, it is one of our strategies to provide opportunities to Aboriginal organisations who supply services. We do use Aboriginal suppliers now, and that's something that we're very focused on. Wherever there's an opportunity, we will give every possible opportunity to an Aboriginal supplier of service to provide those services to council.
Yeah, Councillor Disco.
Yeah, I just want to understand, how do we actually vet who is an Aboriginal supplier? And at the same time, isn't that also a little discriminating as, to small business owners in the Bayside Council area? That you put any business first above everyone else? I thought we were living in a democracy.
That's really unfair.
Councillor
You know
Strong.
the history of reconciliation, what happened with colonisation.
Please speak through the chair. Don't directly debate. Councillor Strong.
Yeah, no, I totally disagree. We need to help wherever we can First Nations communities rebuild after the terrible genocide that happened through colonisation, and we need to help rebuild and lend a hand when we can. And I fully support helping First Nations communities and businesses where possible.
Sorry, any other speakers? Councillor Disco.
I'd like my question to be answered. What are the criteria that make up a First Nations business?
General Manager.
I'm going to take that question on notice. I think that that's a long and detailed discussion that would need to be had, and probably best done in the setting of our RAP working group and our advisory committee, who will be the experts at providing some of that information. So we'll take that back and we'll respond to you.
Yeah. Councillors, further discussion? We're just looking at the motion as put. All those in favour? All those against? Declare it carried. Item 13.1, rescission motion, sporting field feasibility. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoff. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the councillors.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Saragonovsky is just leaving the chamber.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Douglas.
So basically what this rescission motion about, from my perspective, and I think each of us has a different perspective, but from my perspective, this rescission motion was about giving us time to get more information, particularly around the microplastics, and we had a briefing on that last week. And what that really comes down to is one thing. It's about water. So it's a precious resource. It gives us life, and we can't live without it. And this, the idea of putting 4 synthetic fields in flood-prone areas, 2 of which are heavily flood-prone, directly affects our water sources. So Lestrange Park is in the Muddy Creek and Spring Creek catchment, which goes down to the Cooks River and Botany Bay, and Kingsgrove Avenue goes to Walleye Creek and then to the bay. So I'm asking you tonight that we apply a precautionary principle and not proceed with the installation of synthetic sport fields in identified heavily flood-prone areas where there is a credible risk of microplastic pollution entering waterways, particularly because staff has advised us against this. I refer also to the many public submissions. While we have heard from soccer clubs tonight, the majority of the public written submissions were in the other direction, which was against increasing microplastic pollution through synthetic fields. And the staff recommendation itself was noting that Kingsgrove Avenue Reserve and Lestrange All-Weather Park Fields, the staff said that the cost benefit does not support proceeding with the all-weather fields at these locations at this time. Instead, the staff suggested allocating funding in this 26-27 budget for better irrigation and an upgrade of those fields. And certainly Kingsgrove in particular deserves to be upgraded. Currently it's a Tier 3 field, which is the lowest type of field. It's the only one of its sort in Bayside, and it desperately needs an upgrade. But I ask you, do we want to take the risk of making that upgrade a microplastic upgrade, or can we make it a Tier 2 upgrade or a Tier 1 upgrade like Barton Park? Are we going to knowingly put a pollution source in a flood zone right on the doorstep of Botany Bay? Because basically that's what we're being asked to do. Synthetic sport fields are unfortunately made of plastic fibres, and in flood conditions, and we know these areas are flood prone, that material simply doesn't stay put. It moves through stormwater into local creeks, out across Botany Bay, onto the beaches that our community loves so much. Brighton, Dolls Point, Sandringham. Last week, when we had a presentation from the experts at the Department of Climate Change, Energy and Water and the Total Environment Centre, we learned that sadly the Cooks River is the most polluted, microplastics polluted river in New South Wales, and Muddy Creek the third most microplastic polluted river. 7% of these microplastics at the entrance to the Cooks River, to the bay, are synthetic grass blades that have entered in our catchment, in our LGA. They were not further up the river. We already can't swim on the western side of the bay because of PFAS poisoning. So what's next? Once microplastics enter our aquatic system, they don't come back out. They settle in sediments, they get taken up by marine life, they move through the food chain, and increasingly we know they end up in us. The precautionary principle is clear. If there is a risk or serious irreversible harm and credible experts concerned, we don't wait, we prevent. And in this case, the risk is real, the pathway is obvious, from floodplain to the bay. The harm is effectively irreversible, and critically, our own staff have repeatedly advised against it. So that's why I'm asking what responsible leadership looks like in Bayside. A council that protects its waterways, our environment and our people, or one that takes a known risk with them yet again. Because floodplains are not abstract, they are directly connected to Botany Bay, one of our most important ecological and community assets. And what we put into that system doesn't just stay local, it spreads. No one here is against sport. No one here is against community infrastructure. But not every location is appropriate for every material. And a flood-prone site connected directly to our rivers and the bay is not the place for plastic-based surfaces. So I urge you councillors to not proceed with synthetic fields in flood-prone areas. We won't be able to take this back. And I will remind you about the Rachel Carson book, Silent Spring, that was released in 1962, which changed the course of environmental policy by exposing a simple truth, that widespread harm can come from substances we barely notice, until it is too late. Microplastics present us with this same moment now. They are invisible, persistent and accumulating in our waterways and in human tissue. We are, quite simply, treating our rivers already and our bay as a dump. And that's why I grieve for my kids.
Please wind up, Councillor
Sure.
Douglas.
For my kids and for the kids who all swim in that microplastic soup, for the fishermen who are digesting these microplastics, and the dogs drinking them down at Kiama Beach.
Thank you. Councillors, further discussion? Councillor Strong.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the people who have waited around for this and for your community building and the people who spoke for and against it. I'm a soccer dad myself, but what I believe is we're not getting a level playing field, pardon the pun, as far as information and examples. We don't have a good example of a best practice natural turf in the Bayside region, and we really need to have proper comparisons, not compared to some old field that was built without much thought, badly drained. We need the proper comparisons, and I feel it when there's rain. Like there is best practice. There's a place called Valentine Park in Glenwood. That's a best practice field. It's Football New South Wales HQ. You couldn't play in torrential rain, but in moderate rain, it's fine. So I think we should move forward and be progressive as a council and give best practice turf fields instead of synthetic the go. I was there at the microplastics briefing the other night, and it was really shocking. It's a red flag moment for me and for many people. And I thank the councillors who are pro-synthetic who did attend. I respect you for that. But many councillors who are pro-synthetic did not attend. And we're supposed to be making decisions tonight where a lot of the councillors didn't get the full picture of the absolutely shocking revelations of the briefing we got in the committee the other night about microplastics. Like Plain Spotting Beach, it's like 7% of the microplastics. They have macro as well, but the microplastic pollution at Plain Spotting Beach is 7% grass blades from synthetic fields. And now we want to build a whole load more. I really think we need to take stock and be really progressive and future thinking and go with these best practice, like the one at Valentine's Park in Glenwood. We need to build some of those here, well drained, high tech, and have the best of both worlds, So I really think that we really need to move forward and go with best practice natural turf and not just poison our whole ecosystems of waterways just for the sake of soccer. I mean, I love soccer, don't get me wrong, but I think this all-weather thing is a myth. We can get to all-weather with best practice natural turf. It is possible. It hasn't been given the right preview to the community of what it can do. And I really think let's build that type of field in our LGA. Synthetic fields, they have big replacement cycles, microplastic loss. There's so many things. Are we just going to ignore that? Is Bayside Council to be a pariah with this issue and refusing to listen to science and from multiple sources, the volume of which is increasing every week? This is a huge issue and it's really been brought to our attention. So I urge councillors, let's slow it down and get it right. These are long-term assets with long-term consequences. Let's take a moment now to really look at this and with responsible governance. So I support the rescission. If it fails, we're just going to keep gathering the information. We're going to keep trying. The community is, we've got to read the room in Bayside. The community, a lot of the community is just absolutely up in arms against these synthetic fields. And we can do it. We can do it. Best of both worlds, best practice, natural turf. Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just respond to something that Councillor Strong just said? I think it's incorrect and offensive to say that we don't have any state-of-the-art fields in Bayside, but Barton Park is a FIFA grade award-winning field that I think we should all be very proud of. Any further discussion? Councillor Bretterhoft.
Yeah, sorry, I also just want to say thank you for everyone coming. Thank you for all the support that shows real democracy in the area, actually, the submissions that we've received. Also, I want to say, and I've said it last time, I support sport. I support giving young people families and facilities they need to thrive. But supporting clubs does not mean every proposal is the right one. If we genuinely want to give our clubs the best, then we should start with a simple truth. Football was made to be played on natural grass. Around the world, natural grass remains the perfect surface for major competitions because it's more natural feel, cooler temperatures, better playing conditions. Even the advances in synthetic technology, actually, grass is still the benchmark. Many of the world's leading players have said this, exactly that. One of them, a French star, Thierry Henry, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, one of the greatest players of all time, once said plainly, football is meant to be played on grass. And he's right, I think. If we want the best for our clubs, then we should invest in the surface the game was designed for. Natural turf is not only better for football, it's better for a suburb. It cools the environment, absorbs the rainfall, supports green open space and feels like a park, not just a facility. The second issue is the cost. Altogether, ratepayers could be facing around 30 million and more. That is if everything goes to plan. And we know in Ku-ring-gai Council that hasn't gone to plan. They've had an increase, as we've heard, from 3.3 to 20 million in their blowout of the artificial turf. So we can actually, with that money, upgrade multiple natural fields, give you the best natural grass fields that you need, that you want. And we can improve the drainage and ground cover faster, to recover faster after rain. And that brings me to the third point, equity. We often hear, if one clubs it, every club wants it. And this is what we see here today. But equity shouldn't be confused with sameness. We don't need to give the same to everyone. It's about ensuring every club has fair access to quality facilities and the opportunity to succeed. That can mean well-maintained natural fields, smart scheduling, better amenities, lightning drainage, and all that is needed. If we define fairness as everyone gets synthetic turf, we could create an endless, expensive cycle race of council that we can unrealistically sustain. But if we define fairness as helping the most people with the resources we have, then we can support more clubs, more players and more families. Our responsibility is to think long term. That's why I also hope that you support the deduction of the rescission motion.
You, Councillor Brederhoft. Sorry, Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors and members of the gallery. I urge my fellow councillors to remember what we achieved in this chamber just a few weeks ago on March the 25th. We took a bold, necessary step towards securing the future of a local sport by approving design budgets for our vital sporting hubs. To rescind that resolution today is to take a massive step backward. Not just for this council, but for the thousands of families who rely on our local sports infrastructure. The community demand is real and tangible. If you want to know what the community thinks about this, look no further than the petition I have here, Mr. Mayor, and with your indulgence, I would like to table it at this council meeting.
Sure. The director is coming to ensure it's tabled.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, it contains over 1,000 signatures, and to be exact, it's 1,246 signatures, and that's been done in the last 2 to 3 days. And let me be clear, these are not digital clicks on an online poll. These are over 1,000 handwritten, hard copy signatures from local residents who took the time out of their day to put pen to paper because they are desperate for better facilities. We need to recognise the sheer scale of who we are representing today. There are over 10,000 registered football members in the Bayside local government area. When you compound that number to include spectators, the parents, the relatives, and the dedicated volunteers, the footprint is staggering. Just look at last year's Men's Premier League Grand Final. We had over 4,000 spectators turn up, Mr. Mayor. The leader reports it was over 6,000. We're not going to argue about that. And the reason for that, because our facility constraints that match had to be played out of our area. Yet, our community still travelled and showed up in absolute droves. It is undeniable football is a massive stakeholder in Bayside, if not our absolute biggest. We owe it to them to provide facilities within their own community. Mr. Mayor, football is a bedrock of our community. Clubs like Bexley North FC are the proud custodians of our fields, and the volunteers there are doing the heavy lifting for us. They are the ones out there on the grass, putting in the hours, trying to keep our kids engaged, active and off the streets. Some councillors in this very room frequently raise valid concerns about youth loitering, antisocial behaviour and e-bike shenanigans in our local area. We cannot sit there and complain about these problems while actively defunding the best tool we have to fix them. Football is the solution. Local sport is the solution. When we invest in these fields, we are investing in a safe, constructive environment for our youth. I understand that councillors who put forward this rescission motion have concerns. We hear worries about the environmental impact of all weather fields, about heat retention and about flooding. But we must remember what the original resolution was actually for. A design budget, the design phase is exactly where we solve these problems. It is not the time to hit the panic button and scrap the projects entirely. To address the heat and environmental concern, during the design phase, we can actively look into sustainable alternatives. And Mr. Mayor, some might think that I've got coconuts in my head, and I don't, but these coconuts, Mr. Mayor, it is a brilliant 100% biodegradable alternative to rubber. It absorbs water naturally, which actively cools down the all-weather field during summer months.
Please wind up, Councillor Nardi.
Yeah, I am. Just be patient. I've spoken less than others, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
We're keeping time on this.
And it completely removes the issue of microplastics. Nearly done. To address the following concerns, we have faced this exact hurdle before. We were told that flooding was a major issue at Arncliffe Park, Ador Avenue, Gardner Park. Did we throw our hands up and walk away? No. We stepped up as a council, we engineered the right drainage solutions and we worked around it. We successfully delivered to those communities, and there is absolutely no reason we cannot do the exact same things for Kingsgrove Avenue and the other reserves listed in this project. I would also like to note, based on our briefing the other day, councillors, which I happily attended, the council, in consultation with EPA, has put in place at all our weather fields enviropods to capture particles up to 200 microns in size, concrete border edging and boot cleaning. And the GM can correct me if I'm saying something that is not true or factual. We should include these new future...
Councillor Nardi,
I'm done.
We're done. Excellent.
Paragraph.
Further speakers.
And all weather fields.
Councillor Kasev. Everyone's keeping to time, Councillor Nardi.
Do not let engineering challenges stop community progress. Let the design phase go ahead. We can bring a costed, environmentally sound and highly beneficial project back to this chamber. I strongly urge my fellow councillors to vote against this rescission motion. It's not soft corruption, Mr. Mayor. It's support for our kids, parents and the community. Thank you.
Councillor Kasim.
Thank you very much for everybody who's been here. I can hear how enthusiastic you are about your sport and about your community. And I guess that's the first thing I'd like to say, that the communities and the football clubs of Bexley and of Mascot deserve better than they have. There's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. I've heard the people say, like, the field's on a slope, it's half the time underwater. That's all true. And so I am totally in favour of improving the fields for both of those places, not to mention, of course, Jellicoe, which I've previously said should definitely be approved. And there's lots of reasons why Jellicoe should be approved, including that
the engineering studies indicate so. There is no loss of playable space for anybody, not even the cricketers. They can be accommodated. It's a big club. Pagewood is a big club. And they can afford to actually pay for those probably reasonably expensive fields. I have to admit, I am a little bit concerned about the other two fields in terms of their engineering. Their engineering is indicating that it's actually a lot worse than the ones which Councillor Nagy has mentioned. It's a lot worse situation than Ador or any of the others in terms of the flooding and in terms of, therefore, the engineering work which needs to be done there. So that's unfortunate. Secondly, it will actually affect playable space, especially at Mascot. It'll affect playable space for the practice field, for rugby, for cricket. I mean, I know they don't use it much, but that's because the field is so awful now. It is awful now. And the third thing, on the matter of cost, because of the engineering being so hopeless, but I mean, because the engineering study is showing that it's going to be a lot harder to do there than elsewhere, the cost will be high. So, I'm going to vote in favour of this because of Jellicoe, really, because I think it shouldn't be held up. But I guess the other thing about this is that, that the design budget is going to reveal that cost. And I think that is really important for the community to weigh up, because all decisions are a matter of weighing things up. We've got environmental costs, which are very significant, and other people have spoken about it, and we've got financial costs. And I think a lot of people couldn't attend a sports forum, which happened on Monday, but those who did attend know that, the costs are going to have to be recouped. Only 25%, like council is going to make a huge, huge subsidy for sport because we truly believe in sport. But still, 25% of a really, really expensive field is something which I think everybody's going to have to think about. So, as I say, I'm going to support the motion, but I really am also saying, folks, this is not a simple thing, and it's not something where you need to, go, yeah, I'm always going to support, this is definitely what I want. Because if we can actually make show you information about having premium grass fields, which are actually flat, which actually work as a soccer field, and then look at the comparative cost, which you are going to have to partly pay for synthetic fields.
Sorry, Councillor Kassim, can you speak through the chair, please?
I'm finishing now. Then it may be that your decision will change. So I'm going to vote against the rescission motion on the basis that everyone will have more information.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Kassim. Can I just make some comments, and then I would note that we've had two speakers for and against, which I hope is what Councillor Morrissey was about to say, or Councillor Curry perhaps. But I think something really important to note on this is that, sorry, Councillor Duska? Potentially somebody will move a 10.19, but I would say that these fields, once we get design and scoping done for them, that's the early works to determine the actual price. Bayside Council has always sought external grants for these, and that's really relied on the support of local clubs and local community. We've never funded one of these ourselves fully, for example, or even more than 50% of one of these fields. So I would really encourage clubs present to go out and source funding from the state and federal government, which is where we really need that support to make these projects happen, because really they're not feasible, and it's not fair on all our ratepayers not to receive external support for these. So I think that's something that we need to have a common understanding of moving forward, but obviously investing in scoping work so that we can get these projects shovel ready is generally a council's bread and butter. Sorry, Councillor Morrissey.
There's been 2 points inside Code of Meeting Practice 10.19. I move that the motion now be put.
All those in favour that the motion now be put? Aye. All those against? We have a motion from Councillor Morrissey. I heard the majority in favour. I declare that passed. Well, if we want a division, all those in favour of the motion now being put? Councillor Curry. Sorry, we might. This is only to put the motion to a vote. Have we got a division up? Councillor Curry, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Bezic, Councillor Boudeleau, Councillor Strong. No, this is to put the motion. Councillor Kasim, Councillor Brederhoft, Councillor Savranovsky, Councillor Naji, Councillor Dusku, Councillor Awada, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Poulos, Councillor Douglas.
I am against the motion being put, so the Councillor Barlow.
And myself for, I need to count that, declare the motion carried. All those in favour of the rescission motion? Aye. All those against? No. Declare it lost. I think, is someone calling it a division? Division's been called. So this is, the motion is the rescission motion to the previously carried motion. Councillor Curry. Against. Councillor Morrissey. Against. Councillor Bezic. Against. Councillor Boudeleau. Against. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Naji. Against. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow.
Walking football with your local member for Barton, and I've put a good word in for you.
There you go, noted. Thank you. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. Myself against, declare the motion lost. Can we invite Councillor Savranovsky back in, please? So for those watching in the audience, the rescission motion is lost. I think 11-3. What, sorry? You know, you don't do it.
We don't do now. That lapses.
That lapses.
That's one less thing to worry about.
Can I suggest a 3-minute break to stretch legs, etc., while people are departing? The motion in the name of Curry and Morrissey to the meeting on hold until 8:50 p.m. Declare the meeting reopen at 8:50 p.m. Moving to notice of motion 13.3. I will just keep speaking louder. Botany Road parking and road space allocation. Moved Councillor Morrissey. Seconded Councillor Bezic. Councillor Morrissey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Webb. We've been Botany residents in Botany Shopping Centre for quite some time. There's been some redundant, no stopping, police parking only zones, and an old bus stop that used to be used for the M20 service that no longer exists. And it's just using valuable parking, taking up valuable parking space. So this is just advocating for the residents. It's a state road, it's out of council's control, but providing some advocacy for a review of that precinct and the public parking available.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.4, public access to residents to inspect complying development certificate, site maps and elevations. Moved Councillor Barlow. Seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Barlow.
It just speaks for itself, and I think everyone in the room would have possibly had at least one phone call saying someone's building next door. I can't see the plans. I can't look at anything. And I mean, when they say they've got the letter, I say, gee, you're lucky, because most of the time this private certified doesn't even send the joining letters. So hopefully this was going to the local government conference, because it really needs to change. Everyone, your neighbours, should know what's happening next door. I mean, and I'm saying, and they ring you up and you say, well, you can't get any plans. So hopefully we can change the state government.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Morrissey.
I was just thinking, given that this is looking at this local government, which is state, 50 metres might be too restrictive. If that might be one or two neighbours. So maybe you want to think about extending that to, say, 150 metres, because sometimes you've got 50-metre blocks, you know?
Yeah, well, that's true, because I'm on a 12...
20 metres.
20, well, it's not, yeah. So what would be, for this to go to LG conference, what would be reasonable? I'm thinking 150 metres. 200? 100, Councillor Barlow? Yeah. Let's amend that to 100 then.
There you go. Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.5, information accessibility sporting field proposals. Moved Councillor Strong, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Strong.
This motion is about making sure the community can see what councillor sees when it comes to the synthetic versus best practice turf debate. I believe we can stop the turf wars if we have a level playing field with the information that we need. Sorry, I had to get that one off my chest. In recent briefings, we've been presented with detailed information on costs, lifestyle implications and environmental factors, particularly around synthetic versus natural turf. But much of that detail is not easily accessible to the public. When we're talking about multi-million-dollar infrastructure decisions with long-term impacts, that gap matters. This motion simply asks for future reports to clearly outline capital costs, maintenance costs, lifestyle considerations, environmental impacts across all options. It also asks for balanced comparison, so decisions are based on consistent and openly available information. Better information leads to better decisions and stronger public trust. I commend this to Council and councillors. Thank you.
Councillor Strong. Further discussion? Councillor Bigelow.
Just a quick one maybe to the General Manager. Don't we already do this as a council? It seems a bit redundant that, no offence, Councillor Strong, but it seems a bit redundant that are we not already doing this? So just a question if you could answer that. Thank you.
General Manager.
Through the chair, I think, yes, that we have been quite diligent in providing this information, with the exception of the calculator that we were able to develop. That was a really innovative, a first time we had ever done anything like it. The calculator was a new initiative and something that we did provide information about the costs in the calculator prior to sending that information further afield. So I think the essence of this is, yes, we do this, and certainly we will continue to do this, with the slight, I guess, deviation that we made while we were providing councillors with really detailed information from the calculator.
Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Curry.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's part of the committees that we have and the reports that come to committee to keep us updated about all the different upgrades, those project reports that we get in committees with all the detail there, and that's where the information can be asked and is presented. So I understand your intent, but Councillor Strong, but I have a little bit of an issue with us saying that we are not, that it's making an inference that we're not, that we don't do it, and that's my concern. So can I just suggest that we do, if you're open, that we just say that we, consider, well, I probably can't get you to change it, so I'll foreshadow it. Just foreshadow that we note that council provides this information in reports to the relevant committees. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, further discussion? No, so we have a foreshadowed motion from Councillor Curry and Councillor Morrissey to effectively note that this same information is currently provided under Council's open access arrangements. I would just comment, and very genuinely I get where Councillor Strong's coming from, but including things like, I think it's really great the work staff have done developing things like the asset calculator, but as I've flagged previously in those committees, I think there's more work to do before that's made public, because I don't think it takes into account, for example, all of the costs associated with having a park, for example. It assumes that there's land there available and that costs us nothing. But as we see, as we try to expand open space in high density areas, open space comes with a price, often a very significant price, and that full the end-to-end product that goes into providing open space really needs to be taken into consideration. So we're providing a genuinely transparent view to the community. Information needs to be held within context. So I do think that we need to actually make a decision on that and what it looks like before we publish it, because a little bit of data is a dangerous thing. You need to put it in context, or you're actually in danger of misleading people. So I just add that comment. Councillor Douglas.
The information workshop that we had on the microplastics was very informative, but only some councillors were in attendance. I think that is an exception to this, where we are provided those information sessions which are not public. What would be the steps to make sure that that information does become public? Would it be then to request a report from the council on the information session, or could I get some advice on that through the chair, please?
General Manager.
Through the chair, there could be briefing notes provided back to the subsequent committee meeting. We could, in some instances where we have guest speakers, ask whether they would be open to the idea of us filming and making a little video of what they're doing. So there's a number of ways, but yes, it would be quite straightforward to provide some briefing notes.
I'd assume things like the reports received from the microplastics workshop would be documents that we'd hold that are subject to open access. So if you ask a question, they'd probably be published in the business papers.
Can I just ask,
Councillor Strong?
So through the chair, can I just ask a question to the GM? Was that briefing that we had on all the costs, synthetic versus turf and then best practice, was that a confidential session, or was that information available to the public? Because that's kind of what inspired this motion. Was there was a lot of information that clearly showed synthetic was more expensive, and I just don't feel like it's gone out to the public properly.
So there were two parts to the information that was provided. The first one was really demonstrating the calculator that we have developed and showing the inputs and the results that came out of that in dollar terms. As the Mayor has said, it is a bit of a work in progress, and that one, the detail that was in that councillors received has not fully, we haven't actually produced all of that on the public record. However, we have taken a summary of that information. It is attached to your business paper tonight in the minutes of the committee, and the detail in that provides you the cost differential between the different types of synthetic and turf field, different levels of turf, natural turf fields. So the summary of that certainly is available for the public.
You councillors, further discussion? I have a motion and a foreshadowed motion. Right of reply, Councillor Strong.
I mean, I think if it's similar to what we're doing anyway, why not just let the motion go through rather than do the foreshadowed motion? I mean, maybe I am open to saying continue to ensure, maybe to make it show that the council is doing some of it rather than completely quash the motion.
I think that is the effect of Councillor Curry's foreshadowed motion. So perhaps if you're open to that wording, then we just have one motion.
But say the council continues to ensure information.
I take issue because it's still saying, like, it'd be all right if it was just the one line, but it's still going into a whole lot of detail about other things, which is suggesting that those things aren't happening. And I'm just conscious of councils, you know, that around that we are transparent, and I don't want people to get the wrong interpretation of this motion. So
Fair enough. It sounds like we don't have agreement.
Maybe take out 2, leave 3.
No, you can have the first sentence, that's it.
Have Councillor Nagy wanting to, I assume, contribute to the debate?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have to
just very briefly
agree with Councillor Curry and Councillor Butele. We're doing all these things already, you know, and if someone says, any councillor says that, oh, we should be more transparent than that, you've got to show us that where we have not been transparent and open to the community. We've always been with community. I mean, look at 11.1. That's including everything to do with synthetic, the fields, synthetic fields, natural grass, hourly rates, everything. It's going to community consultation. How transparent can we be? How much more transparent can we be? We do all these things, and I think, sorry, this is this notice of motion. I can't support it, Mr Mayor, because we already do things.
Any further discussion? Councillor Brederhoft.
Yeah, just is it then? I kind of agree as well. We're doing a lot of these things. So is it then that point 4, which says outlining practical options to improve accessibility, is that the real problem? That we are not clearly enough in the information? Can we adopt that point 4 only?
We have a
looking
motion
at the debate tonight.
I move the motion be put.
The motion be put. All those in favour of that motion? Aye. All those against? Declare it carried. All those in favour of the motion as put? Councillor Strong's motion? Aye. Yep. All those against? No. Declare that lost. Foreshadowed motion. Council notes information provided. All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.6, annual flower planting program. Moved Councillor Poulos. Seconded Councillor Butele. Councillor Poulos.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Any further discussion? Councillor Douglas.
I was hoping that Councillor Poulos could consider an amendment that council prioritises attractive natives, perennials and drought-tolerant species in order to reduce labour, save water resources and enhance local biodiversity, and that council makes a commitment to procurement for plantings from Indigo Grow as part of our support for local Indigenous community.
Councillor Poulos.
I did send them to governance, but I don't know if they got them.
I think it's probably worth noting in this motion that it will need to, like, there's a significant cost associated with this potentially, so it will need to come back before any action's taken with an actual scope and budget attached to it.
Yeah, definitely have to consider that.
Well, it's as a matter of course, it can't be, it can't actually be adopted tonight to take effect.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you're speaking to Councillor Douglas's points. Councillor Naji?
Yeah, quickly, I've got to commend Councillor Poulos for bringing this forward. And I can't help myself but say, I've got to give credit to the Honourable Minister Honey. When he was the Mayor of Botany, I used to enjoy going around the streets and watching all these roundabouts with flowers in them. It looked really good. Everyone was talking about it. And let's see if we can do something similar in this council. Thank you.
If councillors, further discussion? Councillor Poulos?
Only one change. I don't want the word prioritise. I think consider might be more appropriate.
Are you happy with that? All right, councillors, further discussion? I might just give a plug for IndigiGrow because we've just launched a partnership with them. They're a great supplier out at...
Someone else for free shipping. With your new free shipping.
You can go and pick them up, they're nearby. But they are a great local nursery. They provide wholesale prices, they're really cheap, and everything grows in the local soil. So I will continue to plug them. It's a good arrangement. Go out and get your free flowers. Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.7, Ramsgate Lifesaving Club. Moved Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Boudelet. Councillor Poulos.
So moved, Mr Mayor. We've had a long night, so I'm happy to just put that on the record.
Further discussion, councillors?
Just got a
Councillor
question
Morrissey.
through the chair because I'm curious what life-saving services are delivered by the Life-Saving Club.
I don't know if council staff would be qualified to answer that question as an external provider.
Do they?
They do dippers.
No. Do they provide life-saving services? So yes, no.
As far as I'm aware, their focus is on running nippers classes on weekends.
Yeah, councillor.
So while I'm it's just very. I'm a volunteer surf lifesaver for 15 years. So it's just there are two different organisations, and just for future, I'm not going to seek any amendments, but just be very clear on what we're asking for and what services are provided to the community out of that club. I've got no objection to improving the facility because it's a council facility and we should always advocate for that. And I'm happy to talk offline about that if there's any future motions. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Douglas.
I just don't really understand this motion. I'm really in support of facilities for local recreation, but the facilities seem quite new to me. They don't seem heavily utilised. We already have the toilets being renewed, and on consultation with local parents who attend the club, they weren't aware that there was any concerns. There was a suggestion from a local parent that potentially we add a mural to the storage facility, but through the chair, has there been any approach or any request from local community in regard to this upgrade, and also how old is this facility?
General Manager. There are two questions there.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. So extensive renovation of the facility was undertaken in 2013. At the time, we spent about $900,000 on the renovations. As the comment says, we have got some funding set aside to do some additional work on the toilets at the moment. They are heavily used, and obviously both by the club members, the general public, and people who use the restaurant. The storage container does have the potential to either be further enhanced through the application of a mural onto it. Or alternatively, I've made a comment in the General Manager's comment that there is space to the north of the facility where we could use a model that we've used elsewhere to create both a picnic shelter and some form of storage for the club. That's something that could be considered in a future budget, but we haven't had an approach from the club or the public since I think it would have been in the term of Councillor Souness was the last person to raise this with us.
Councillor Kassim.
Thank you. Just further to the question from Councillor Morrissey, I guess I'm wondering, this is a council facility which we're talking about spending more money on and we have spent money on, if in fact the only activity there is the training of nippers and it is a relatively underutilised facility, I'm just wondering what the lease arrangements are for that facility and whether or not there is an opportunity, because we've talked about other facilities being shared, and being able to be, rented out to other people in the community.
The General Manager just suggested that should be raised as a question with notice at the end of the meeting. So lease is a separate item. Councillor Barlow.
Just a comment, seeing my name was there that Mark Hanna and I put in, and it's a shame Mark's not here to make a little remark. I think part of it too is the fact that Brighton, whatever, Lifesaving Club as we'll call it, does not exist anymore. So all those children came there and they do their nipper training and everything. And as I said, I've stated before, I do not like the surf and never have. I learnt to swim in the Tamar River and Ramsgate Baths, Pemberton Baths opposite where Coles was. So there's children that don't want to be swim in the surf, and I was one of them, but they do, I'm not sure what, but I know they do all the marching, they do the nipper training, and they have, I think it's up to 400. It's because Brighton has disappeared. They were there before and it was fairly equal, and then so Brighton dissolved, and this is why they've outgrown themselves.
Councillors, further discussion. Councillor Douglas.
I just wonder if, rather than going ahead with doing a full comprehensive report, given that we are heading into lean times, we've been forewarned that the fuel costs are rising. We have a lot of financial uncertainty. Could we not just do part 3C of the motion first and do a consultation with the Ramsgate Lifesaving Club and local community groups and relevant stakeholders to actually see if there is a perceived need? Because it's not clear to me that there is a perceived need to make another investment when we actually just made $1 million investment not that long ago. If you're saying no, I'm hearing no, but perhaps I could put that up as a foreshadowed motion, is that Council commences consultation with the Ramsgate Lifesaving Club, local community groups, potentially other life-saving clubs to assess the needs of the site.
They're closed, there's none other.
There's nothing there.
There's only Ramsgate.
Sorry, Councillor Morrissey.
And this is not for others, this is for that particular site.
Sorry, Councillor Morrissey, I think was speaking, if you wanted to.
I was just suggesting, Councillor Poulos, there's maybe some other opportunities there, and if you'd be happy to maybe defer till the next meeting, and we can talk a little bit about other groups and things, because there's obviously a lot of interest across here. I absolutely support upgrading the facility, but there might be other opportunities. If you'd be willing to defer until the next meeting, we can have a conversation more broadly with some other councillors.
I'm happy to
further
consultation, but I
yeah.
don't want my motion changed.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I'll just leave it as is, and let's just, if we defer it, and there might be some other opportunities we can discuss and bring back an updated motion. Is that okay? Yeah, thanks.
All right, so I think the agreement, the motion is that this be deferred until the next council meeting. If there's can I suggest, is this a useful conversation perhaps to be had at a council committee meeting? So rather, this could be referred through to the committee meeting for consideration next month, so rather than coming back as a notice of motion, but that no action be confirmed. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, just quickly, through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director of City Performance. I just heard a councillor saying that we're facing financial uncertainty. With a 200 million organisation, are we really facing financial uncertainty? Can you reassure me? I know I'm a bit sarcastic, but I just want to make sure that we are healthy and stable and financially stable, Mr Mayor.
I might take the question. I think there is, like, you know, as I noted earlier, we're adopting a budget. Our rates revenue is constrained. You know, normally we can manage overs and unders, but when we're looking at a lot of overs coming from, you know, fuel, which sits in the supply chain of a lot of the services we provide, it's, I think, a pretty reasonable statement to make that that's something we need to be. Yeah, Donald Trump can solve our issues. We need to get involved. We need to get more involved in foreign affairs. So I think that is that this item be referred through to the relevant committee, which is in a week, 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yep.
The City Works and Assets Committee, I assume. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.8, Ramsgate Town Centre, moved Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Boudelet.
Mr Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Boulevard car park redevelopment, moved Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Dusku.
So moved, Mr Mayor.
Any further discussion? Councillor Douglas.
I think there is a validity to gauge the market for interest from commercial operators for the rooftop commercial area for potential inclusion as an anchor tenant in the proposed car park redevelopment in Brighton Le Sands. And I do note the redevelopment of the area includes revitalisation of the Crichton Lane to create a vibrant activation, including bin storage areas in the Boulevard car park renewal to remove these from Crichton Lane. But I am concerned about this motion as it stands. There is a limited floor space, and the community has made a strong support for a community and library flexible space on the ground floor, which will become central to a kind of people-focused approach, complete streets approach for Brighton Le Sands, to create those safe places, those places where the people who live in walk-ups can go for study, for work from home arrangements. So I'm concerned that having a second small supermarket in the same town centre is a replication of the services already provided by Coles. It's going to be a very small supermarket if it can even fit in that space, and it would, I think, come at a compromise of taking away community and library space, which I can't support. So I was hoping that Councillor Poulos could change the motion to make it more general, that test and the market engage interest from commercial operators for the rooftop commercial area specifically.
No, I'm not changing that.
Okay, well, I would like to then put that up as a foreshadowed motion. That the council test the market engage interest from commercial operators for the rooftop commercial area for the potential inclusion as an anchor tenant in the proposed Boulevard car park redevelopment in Brighton Le Sands. The council notes the redevelopment also incorporates the revitalisation of the Crichton Lane to create a vibrant activation of the laneway with strategies to encourage the nighttime economy and include bin storage areas in the Boulevard car park renewal to remove these from Crichton Lane. And that thirdly, that the council recommits to a community library space on the ground floor of the Boulevard car park. Sorry, that was a lot. I will just email that through to you.
The seconder for the foreshadowed motion. Seconded Councillor Morrissey. Councillors, further discussion. Councillor Barlow.
I did support the original thing with the library, but after thinking about it, when we decided to have all the libraries, which was in Brighton, which we had a library, we built a library in Moat Avenue development, but it couldn't be used because they didn't strengthen the floor. And then these decisions were all made before we built our award-winning Rockdale Library. So I feel that we now have no library at Bexley, we have no library at Brighton, and I feel they've got St Susie, you've got Rockdale, you've got Bexley North, and you've got Arncliffe, which I believe is being relocated to Eden Street, or no?
Correct.
So, to me, that is more than enough libraries in the area, and when they're talking about commercial, I was thinking of the medical facility, and also I've always concerned about the restaurant upstairs because of all the restaurants that are in Brighton, and the wind factor that upstairs you have to have it all very sheltered. But to me, building another library is not necessary when we have our wonderful award-winning library. And I've been here a couple of times in the last week or so, and it is buzzing. Cannot believe how many kids are here. They're there all the time, especially around here in those study nooks, and it's just amazing. And I've been to St Susie Library, that's a beautiful library, and so they're all well used, and I feel doubling up, it's just not making the sense of having something else. In a community, we have a lot of community space that is not used, like the Literary Institute, and there's places that are not fully used. So I'm happy to look at it as a commercial space so that we make money out of whatever 50 million or whatever it's going to cost.
Councillors, further discussion? All those in favour of Councillor Naji?
Yeah, look, Mr Mayor, I think Councillor Poulos is right. She's only seeking to test the market and explore the market, what will be benefit to this council. Talking about libraries, if you look at Rockdale, the other day, I walk through it a lot, whether through council meetings or on my other days. I tell you, what a beautiful environment. So to catch the bus for the residents of Brighton, it's only 1 or 2 stops down the road, and they can utilise one of the multi-million dollars that Councillor Wadding and the former Councillor McDonald was involved on that committee. We created a beautiful library, so big. So why not? The most sensible is test the market, see if we can get any tenants that can get this council revenue, especially when certain councillors might think that we are doing it tough or there's financial constraints. So I think that's the most logic way of going forward. Test the market, see, then come back. Then if we have to put a library and we don't get nothing else, so will be it.
Councillor Poulos.
So put simply, I'm just asking to explore the early market testing for a supermarket or gourmet supermarket operator. This will help de-risk the overall project, maximise its potential to develop and enhance outcomes for residents, businesses and visitors by ensuring a balanced, sustainable and financially viable mix of uses. Council is not obliged to proceed with this market interest, but Council should know the answer when it comes to securing a more reliable anchor tenant for a multi-storey $55 million car park. Recent social media locally lamented the lack of supermarket competition choices in Brighton. And there was numerous comments with regards to the lack of options and what it would be to have a gourmet grocer or deli or something of the like. So we should also incorporate the revitalisation of Crichton Lane to create a vibrant activation of the laneway, especially because of the nighttime economy changes that we put forward in previous meetings. So with strategies like this, like I said, encouraging the nighttime economy, the laneway is currently an eyesore. I commend this motion and I actually ask that you support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, all those in favour? All those against? Declare the motion carried. Division. Councillor Curry? No. Councillor Morrissey? Councillor Bezic? Councillor Bigelow. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Naji. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow. This is for Councillor Poulos' motion. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. Myself against. Declare the motion carried. I'm pretty sure. I count. Yep. Yep. Arncliffe Town Centre. Moved Councillor Kasim. Seconded. It's about writing to the. Do you remember the staging area for the tunnel that the state government promised they'd give us about 10 years ago?
That one.
It's not the town centre.
I think Councillor Kasim put this forward.
Yeah.
I will second it because I actually
Councillor Poulos.
agree. I agree with the creation of the park. I too have requested information back in 2024 with regards to it, because I do understand it was a pledge from a previous government that this land be dedicated to open space. So I hope the current government fulfills this need, and I encourage the Mayor and the General Manager to keep up the correspondence, and hopefully we get some sort of a positive outcome for our community. Thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to note, just to change the title, it should read Arncliffe Parking and Park, and to add to the Minister indicated, the Minister for Roads and the Minister for Planning and Public Spaces. Park and parking.
Not parking.
I think
Yes.
you'd potentially use part of it for parking. Any further discussion, councillors? All right, this is a great idea. I think they promised us this back in 2018. I think it was the first year I was on, I think it was before I was elected to the council, that they promised to give us this, and then it disappeared, and we should get it. It's a great piece of space that's currently fenced off and looks really sad. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.11, Mascot New Year's Firework Display 2026. Councillor Bigelow.
Yes, just on this one, it would be good after reading the General Manager's comments to make it 2027 perhaps. Really the intent of this motion is, I understand we had some firework displays or New Year's events prior to COVID. I believe we don't have any at the moment. There's lots of councils that do these, and it doesn't need to be fireworks, it could be potentially other things. But the intent is to look at a family-friendly New Year's Eve event. And look, it could be in Mascot, it could be potentially elsewhere around Bayside, but I think it's important to look at this, and obviously with the program already being out, it's obviously too short notice, it seems, to be looking at for this year, but potentially one for next year. So I would obviously seek your support on this one. Thank you.
Okay, can I suggest that this should potentially come back to be considered as part of the future events program? Councillor Bezic.
Just saying that we did host successful fireworks displays over the bay, I think up to about 2017, maybe 8, I'm not sure what year. And it was quite, a lot of people came in, it was good for the businesses, it's very family friendly, they were usually held at 9 o'clock. And at that time, costings were reasonable, but I think it's worth exploring this motion.
Further discussion, councillors?
Just a comment.
I think Councillor Strong was on the hop first.
Just a quick one. I think it's a great idea to look at fireworks again. I know we've discussed it before about the idea of drones and proximity to airport, but if you're going to have fireworks near an airport, surely there'd be space for drones. They're absolutely next level, what I'm seeing in China, mind-blowing drone displays, and I think with evolving community expectations, we should look at that in this proposal. Possibly. I did sort of have an amendment for this, but I'm not sure, is this getting put off? I do have an amendment to consider drones, basically, and I've sent it to governance. So.
Councillors, further discussion? Councillor Barlow.
I only want to ask, is the mover of the motion adding this, or is it instead of Australia Day? That's all. I don't think the council could afford 2 lots of fireworks.
I think it's proposed to add. I think the point is the fireworks themselves are not really the expensive. Like, you don't. What's our fireworks budget for the former New Year's Eve fireworks at Botany? Is anyone here who can answer that? It's in the tens of thousands of dollars, and the road closure is $500,000.
That's for Brighton.
Yeah, to do it at Brighton. So having fireworks is not actually the expensive component of this, but I think the thing we seriously need to consider about this, and I think we have a really great events program. we can't be all things to all people, and having local fireworks at the park when we're near the big firework, you know, people go down to Randwick, to Bondi for big fireworks displays, or into the city, or you're pretty close to it, Mascot. We should think about where and how we compete in this space, and having fireworks at, you know, Christmas or at Australia Day, I think they're good opportunities. But this should be considered as part of our overall events program and whether it's an effective thing for us to do. Just some thoughts. All right, sorry, councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare the motion's amended put. Carried, sorry. Item 13.12, traffic calming and pedestrian safety, Slade Road, Bardwell Valley. I move Councillor Brederhoft, seconded Councillor Douglas.
I'm just going to say, you've heard the residents speaking, and this just asks for a report to come back to committee to see whether there's some things that we can do, and I think in the interest of time, I leave it like that.
I'll just make a suggestion as on the Traffic Committee Forum that you actually didn't need to do this as a notice of motion. You could have got this through traffic very quickly. You just do a report, put your CRM in, say this is the concerns I have. It goes directly to the traffic and then it comes back. And it comes through, they can speak at the Traffic Committee. So it all goes through, but you save a lot of time. And it saves us time as well.
Councillor Sim.
So just along those lines, I'm just wondering if you might accept the change, if you could take it down a little bit to number, so instead of going committee presentation, just that, you know, that a report be made to the Traffic Forum.
I think in this case, the Traffic Forum would be the appropriate committee to consider it, because it's our formal decision-making mechanism.
It actually has to go, it goes to the Traffic Forum once the decision, once they start looking at it, it doesn't come to a committee, it goes to traffic.
I think that's the point, is it says it goes to a committee. I think in this context, the committee is actually the Traffic Forum. Yeah. All right. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. 13.13, urban wildlife nesting platforms. Move Councillor Brederhoft, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Brederhoft, or?
Yeah, this as well is really, I attended the Foreshore Bird Talk organised by Bayside Council, and that was a wonderful event. And so they are looking into, or they've asked whether Bayside Council could investigate some bird nest platform further. And this is a long-term planning. It's no budget implications for this year. It's just something we could have as a project, and I think I'll leave it like that too, in the interest of time.
Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. 13.14, noise camera trial, call for enforcement and parliamentary inquiry. Move Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Kasim. Councillor Douglas.
The New South Wales Government's noise camera trial has confirmed what residents across Bayside and across New South Wales have been telling us, that dangerous and antisocial driving is creating significant noise pollution with real impacts on people's health, well-being and safety. But what did the trial not include? It did not end in enforcement, in fines or in next steps. And honestly, that is simply not good enough. Because right now we are stuck in a pattern. A trial without consequences, complaints without solution, communities speaking up and not being heard. In Bayside, this issue has been consistently raised since 2022, and I believe even before that. The residents have organised, signed petitions, shown up, and still the problem persists. And it's not just us. From Millers Point to Wentworth Point, from Wollongong to communities across the state, people are calling for the same thing. Not more data, not more delay, but real enforcement. We're also seeing other councils step up. The City of Port Phillip in Victoria is already increasing pressure on its state government to move towards enforcement. So the question for New South Wales is, are we going to lead or are we going to lag? Because this issue is only going to grow. We are building denser communities, more people living closer together, more pressure on shared public space. If we don't get noise control right, we are designing conflict into our cities. It's about more than just public nuisance. It's about public health, mental well-being, and whether people feel safe in their own homes. At the moment, the system is fragmented. Policing is reactive, regulation unclear, and technology being tested but not used. So what we need now is a plan. And that is why this motion calls for a parliamentary inquiry. Because an inquiry does what piecemeal responses cannot. It brings everyone to the table: police, transport agencies, regulators, experts, and communities. It examines the evidence, including this very trial. It looks at what's working elsewhere, interstate and internationally. And most importantly, it delivers clear, actionable recommendations on enforcement, on penalties, on how we actually use the technology we've already invested in. We've seen how powerful this process can be. The recent inquiry into e-scooters and e-bikes brought together diverse voices, clarified the issues, and created a pathway forward where previously there was confusion. That is exactly what we need here, because right now, a small cohort of drivers is causing a disproportionate amount of harm. And without enforcement, nothing changes. So tonight, this council could send a clear message that we support enforcement, we support accountability, and support a serious statewide plan to fix this issue once and for all. So, please, council, support this motion. It's time to act.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas, any further discussion? No. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. 13.15, long-term financial planning for synthetic sports fields. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Brederhoft. Councillor Douglas.
I rise to you tonight to move this motion because this is ultimately about responsible decision-making and making sure we are not setting future councils or our community up for avoidable financial pressure. Synthetic sport fields are often presented as a quick solution to growing demand for sports infrastructure. But what is less often discussed and what we must properly understand is the long-term cost. These are not set and forget assets. They have a relatively short lifespan, often around 8 to 10 years, and when they reach end of life, they don't just need maintenance, they need full replacement. That means ripping them up, disposing of them and rebuilding at significant cost. And those costs don't sit in isolation. They compound over time. We're being asked to make a long-term financial decision about 4 new fields, so we need to be clear about the numbers of what we're committed to already, as well as what we're committing to in the future. The data that we've seen recently is that synthetic turfs cost around $355,000 per year to maintain. That is compared to natural turf, where a premium field costs around $98,000 to $147,000 per year, a Tier 2 field $75,000 to $118,000, and a Tier 3 field around $65,000. So even at the high end, synthetic turf is more than double the cost of natural turf. At the low end, it's 5 times more expensive. So synthetic turf is not a cost saving. It is a long-term financial commitment that will put pressure on our budgets year after year. And that's before we even factor in the higher upfront capital costs, the full replacement, and the disposal at end of life. Every dollar we lock into these higher costs is a dollar we can't spend on maintaining other fields, upgrading community facilities, and delivering services across our local government area. So this motion asks for responsible governance. If we are serious about long-term financial planning, we cannot ignore a cost difference of this scale. So I urge councillors to look closely at the full financial implications. This decision won't just affect this year's budget, it will shape our financial position for decades to come. We don't currently have a clear and consolidated view of what these assets will cost over their full life cycle, how those costs will impact our long-term financial plan, and what trade-offs may be required to fund them. So this motion is not about stopping these synthetic fields that you've agreed to tonight, but about making sure that if we proceed, we do so with our eyes wide open. Because every dollar committed to one piece of infrastructure is a dollar that cannot be spent elsewhere. What are the full whole-of-life costs? What will it cost to renew and replace these fields over time? Are we making trade-offs? Let's go into this with eyes wide open.
You, Councillor Discu.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. I rise to speak against the motion, not because long-term financial planning is unimportant, but because this motion adds nothing to it. The issues raised in this motion are not new. Whole life costing, asset renewal forecasting, long-term replacement planning are core obligations of the Council. They are not matters that require re-announcement via a notice of motion. If all-weather sporting fields are genuine long-term financial risks, as the motion implies, then those risks should already be embedded in the asset management plans reflected in a long-term financial plan and funded through the Capital Works program. Mayor, if those matters are not already captured in our planning framework, then passing a notice of motion does not fix the problem, it merely highlights it. If the Council requires a notice of motion to remind itself to plan for asset renewal, then the issue is not policy, it is process. The operational plan already exists to translate strategic intent into funded actions reviewed annually. The Capital Works program already exists to schedule upgrades and replacements across multiple years. The long-term financial plan already exists to smooth financial shocks and avoid renewal cliffs. All-weather sporting fields sit squarely within all three. That said, why is this being handled through a notice of motion instead of through the mechanisms that actually control outcomes? The only outcome of this motion is political point scoring. For Mr. Mayor, good governance is not about restating principles. It's about embedding them into budgets, plans and decisions. If all-weather turf field assets are not adequately planned for today, the correct response is not a notice of motion. The correct response is to fix the plan. Until that happens, this motion is not a solution.
Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to begin by genuinely congratulating the proponent of this motion, because it takes courage to stand up in this chamber and bravely remind Council to do the things it is already legally required to do. That is no small service. Whole of life costing, asset renewal forecasting, long-term replacement planning. Mr. Mayor, without this motion, we can only imagine the risk that Council might have forgotten the very foundation of local government asset management.
Sorry, Councillor Nagi, it's nearly 10 p.m. Maybe we don't need sarcasm.
Please, I mean, this is the chamber. We debate. Everyone is entitled for their opinion. Fortunately, we have been saved. Thanks to this motion, we are now all aware that assets depreciate, they eventually need replacing, and money should probably be set aside at some point, which is reassuring, especially given that these same concepts already appear somewhat quietly in our asset management plans, our long-term financial plan, and our capital works program. But I acknowledge that those documents can be easy to miss. They are only adopted by Council, reviewed annually, and heavily audited. So I appreciate the additional reminder. Mr. Mayor, if synthetic sport fields are indeed long-term financial risk, as this motion suggests, then it is comforting to know that this motion has now formally encouraged Council to embed them in asset planning, reflect them in long-term financial modelling, and fund them through capital works. All things we were, of course, already doing. But now we are doing them enthusiastically. I particularly admire that this motion achieves all of this without allocating a single dollar, amending a single budget line, or changing a single planning assumption. That is efficiently. Mr. Mayor, this motion does not tinker with the messy business of plans, budget, or delivery. Instead, it offers some far more elegant, a moral encouragement to continue asset management. And while I sincerely applaud the intent, I must say good governance is not about reminding ourselves of principles. It is about embedding them quietly into documents that already exist. I'm nearly finished. 2 more lines. If those plans are wrong, the solution is to fix them.
That's all right.
And if they are right, then this motion has performed a valuable confirming role.
Clearly
in that sense, Mr. Mayor, I support the sentiment of this motion wholeheartedly. I just can't support the motion itself because at this point it's more a motivational poster than a governance tool. And for that reason, Mr. Mayor, I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
I was waiting for a point of order on that because it was clearly very condescending and out of order, but, you know, no one said it. Further discussion.
Yeah,
Councillor Strong.
I mean, this is another motion that dares to question the sacred cow of synthetic fields proposals in the area. It addresses something we can't afford to overlook, long-term financial reality of synthetic fields. We know these assets have short lifespans and require significant investment. We're already seeing that with the upcoming replacement at Adar Reserve. With multiple new fields under consideration, it's critical that we understand the full life cycle costs, the replacement timelines and the broader impact on Council's long-term financial plan. This is about making informed, financially sustainable decisions on behalf of our community. Before we commit to expanding these assets, we need a clear picture of what they'll cost, not just today, but over decades. I feel like this motion helps provide that clarity and I support it.
Further discussion?
Just a comment
Councillor
as
Barlow.
the longer serving councillor, that the issue I think is that no one knows into the future how much these fields are going to cost. What's going to be sacrificed when all these fields, we've got 4 coming up at once. So it's more about, okay, long-term planning, budget, everything else, but it's a matter of how do we get that extra money so that something else doesn't suffer. That's the only concern I have.
Councillor Curry.
Yeah, thank you. I take all the points and I do think, you know, of course we've got to be responsible in this space, but I'm really not sure what we're currently doing. So I'm wondering, Councillor Douglas, if you would mind amending it in the first instance to have a report come to committee just around what we're currently doing in relation to long-term planning for the synthetic fields, is in more so, because my understanding is, and sorry, it's late, that you want to understand how we're going to support the renewal of these fields into the future. So what's it going to cost over for each field over, and how are we planning to pay for the renewal of those fields? Would that be something through the director?
Can I maybe make a comment, Councillor Curry? And I just, this is not an illegitimate question to ask how are we planning for the future, but I think that's why we have our long-term financial plan, and I don't think that needs to be said in a really condescending way. You go to page 20 of the long-term financial plan, there's a line item that says open spaces that has a budget allocated against it for each year out to 2034, 2035. I think from the discussion, it would be helpful to have our council engage that this is I think the bread and butter of our finance department, like our finance department and our treasury function. We need to do this every time we build any asset. We develop a depreciation schedule, and part of our benchmarking is that we have sufficient funds dedicated to renewal in the future to ensure we maintain those assets into the future. I think there's a valid point to be made but I think it's said that these assets are very expensive, but how many kids were playing sport here 20 years ago? The profile's completely changed because the population's grown massively, and it will continue to do so. And it is very, very hard, as we know, to find increased open space. So increasingly, you can't do that. So you need to invest money year on year to support those services, like we do for all of our other services. But I think it's potentially doesn't recognise that our council is mature in this space. We understand that we need to replace and renew assets. You look at a bunch of the councils around Sydney, and it's much harder outside of Sydney. You have a pool you have a pool reach end of life, as many of the former war memorial pools are doing across the state that were built in the 50s and 60s. and they can't replace them because they haven't thought about the long-term financial planning. We have the evidence in front of us. We're not in that position. We've had both of the major aquatic centres in Bayside replaced. One, under the former council, and Botany is being done now. We do actually do this work. So understanding that these are decisions that our staff, are well on top of when we're making decisions to invest in new assets. Those are incorporated into our long-term financial planning because it's what we need to do. And I think, there's obviously been so much debate about synthetic turf in this council. I think we've probably spent 100 hours on it over the last half a dozen years, certainly more than I want to, and the debate largely goes the same, it's the same debate over and over. But elevating that above all the other things that in our long-term financial plan, what else, I think it's a different question if you go, what level of detail should be in our long-term financial plan? How deep does it go? But we shouldn't go, all right, well, we report plant, fleet and equipment as one item, which obviously covers a hell of a lot of assets, but then we need a special category just for synthetic turf. So I think we need to be consistent across the way we account for assets. I think we have a really robust long-term financial planning policy. And sorry, I've gone on for a long time and I'm about to finish, so I might just stop there. But I do think that our council generally does a good job in this space. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour? Well, I think Councillor Curry suggested that maybe a good outcome from this motion would be that a report come on our long-term financial planning back to the relevant committee because, seems like potentially we need some education in this space about what we're already doing as well.
Is it foreshadowed? Or
Look, I think my concern is here that we already have a deficit, is my understanding, on asset maintenance and renewal of about $10 million a year. It's depreciation. So, we're talking about some very large infrastructure spends, and we also have already 6 fields that also need to be renewed. And when we had the council briefings, it wasn't clear that information wasn't presented about how we were going to afford these assets longer term. So that is my concern. I think it's fine to raise those concerns in this space and to make sure that we do have a plan. I'm happy to accept Councillor Curry's revision of the motion, so that would mean we'd remove everything else and just stick with that for now. I just want to also address the constant bullying in this chamber from Councillor Naji. I don't think that's a respectful thing to do. I know that you're trying to bait me, but I hope that makes you feel good about yourself, like you're a big, strong man, Councillor Naji, and that all of your team supports you.
I think this is also out of order, I've got to say.
Mr Mayor, point of order. I never bully anyone, and I'm sure if I was bullying any councillor, you would be the first one or the GM to put me into line.
Well, I did repeatedly say that I thought you were out of order. Councillor Naji called for a point of order, but I can't do that.
Since 2004, we have been in this chamber where we debate. Even myself and Councillor Curry, we used to debate fiercely, but the respect has always been there. I've never bullied anyone in my life.
So, point of order, Mr Mayor. Can we please just get back to the motion? Yeah. This is not relevant. This debate, this part of the debate, is nothing to do with the motion before us. We need to put the motion and move on with the evening. Thank you.
Can I just, to Councillor Douglas's point, and I won't later on, I would have said, if somebody had made a point of order, which I think I said audibly several times, I found Councillor Naji's contribution to be out of order, but, we didn't. But I think, also the chamber is equally not the place to cast aspersions at councillors. But, it's just genuinely, we're all here, we're all, trying to do the best for the community, show respect to each other. It's just not a lot to ask. Sorry, any further discussion? No. All those in favour of the motion as amended? Aye. All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.16, participation in community power network, Botany mascot. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Kasim. Councillor Douglas, on a moment. Any discussion, councillors? Councillor Barlow.
I'm sorry. Is this the same as the one in St Kilda Road at Bexley North?
What's that, sorry? No.
But different, even though that has power, it does get fed.
No, through the chair, that is a community battery. But this is a trial that is only occurring in 2 sites in New South Wales, Mascot and Charmhaven on the Central Coast. It uses the roof space of privately owned buildings to generate the power and then store that in batteries to be redistributed to other properties within the area. So it's very innovative, and I think we've already talked to the CEO of Ausgrid, who would be more than happy to come and explain it in detail to councillors.
Just a quick one. Had a long night, so it won't be long. Yeah, I strongly support this motion. This is exactly the kind of shift we need from the centralised top-down energy systems to local decentralised power that communities can actually benefit from. The Ausgrid Community Power Network is about turning our own buildings, rooftops, car parks and generators, sharing solar, storing energy and keeping value local. That means lower emissions, greater resilience and less exposure to volatile energy prices, but it also means something deeper, democratising energy. Instead of energy being something extracted and sold back to us, it becomes something we produce and share as a community. This briefing is a practical next step and one that aligns squarely with a sustainable, decentralised energy future. I commend the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Strong. Any further discussion? Councillor Naji, I think, was first.
Okay,
Mr. Bear, I want to assure this council that I will not be silenced. I've been elected by the constituents, the residents, to represent them, and my votes keeps going up every time. I've met my quota, way above that, so no one will silence me. I deal with everybody with the utmost respect. So, Mr. Mayor, going back to this motion, motions like this worry me. Not because they are controversial or risky, but because they exist in kind of a vacuum where nothing actually happens. This motion contains a remarkable amount of enthusiasm from peaceful Bayside councillors for something that is already finished, published, regulated, operating and crucially happening whether or not we meet tonight. Everything described, I'll get there, Mr. Mayor, I'll get there, I'll get to the point and I'll show you the links. Is that 13.6? That's 16? Yep. Okay. Everything described in this motion already exists. It is publicly documented. It is explained in fact sheets. It has diagrams. It even has FAQs, which is frequently asked questions. The only thing is missing is council's logo, which I assume is what is happening. What tonight is about. Let be honest, Mr. Mayor. This motion is not informational. If it were, we'd also be tabling motions to note Wikipedia. This isn't policy, it isn't delivery, it isn't governance. This is virtually signalling with a mover and a seconder. The entire policy framework, the benefit, risk, timelines and delivery model are already designed, approved and owned by Ausgrid and overseen by the Australian Energy Regulator, all of which is again explained very clearly on the Ausgrid website. In practical terms, this motion creates no new program, improves no technical outcomes, adds no governance or safety oversight. It does not accelerate nothing. It does, however, allow council to stand beside an initiative, not thoughtfully, and say we support this as it continues to walking past us. This isn't participation, it's photobombing policy. Everything in this motion will happen regardless of how we vote. So while I admire the sudden enthusiasm for ownership by association, I won't be supporting this. because credit is usually given before the work is done, not several years later, after it's been approved, regulated and published online. Mr Mayor, last two lines, purely hypothetically, if this were a university assignment, Turnitin would already be sending emails. And if anyone wants to chase and find out where the link is, I'm more than happy to send it to you. So to know that I'm very factual, I've always been factual, and no one will go in to silence me. No one will ever will. I'm here to represent the community, speak my own opinion, and they are my own opinions, not an opinion of any other councillor or even the council itself. They're my personal opinion. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kasim's jumping up, but I think the General Manager is champing at the bit to respond to some of the statements made then.
Sorry, I probably do just need to make a point of clarity. So, yes, there is a Community Power Network website with Q&As. And grant funding for the trial has just been achieved. It took I think over a year for Ausgrid to be successful in getting some federal funding. The two sites, Mascot and Charm Haven, as I said before, have been identified. But now we move into the next phase, which is detail. It is about which properties will host the solar panels. It is about where the rather large batteries will be housed. Those details have not yet been worked out, and Ausgrid understands that to make this successful, council is going to have to come on board, because probably some public land is going to be needed for those large community batteries that then distribute power across the trial area. So they are keen to come and talk to us about this implementation phase of the pilot program.
So can I just offer comments, and then Councillor Kasim? I think it is genuinely really important that we stay engaged with Ausgrid on this. There are active decisions they're making, and a resolution from council is genuinely assistive. And this is a significant program securing this in Bodney and Mascot, and the scale that we get, because that's still up for debate, is really significant. I mean, I think it's quite cool. You're talking about savings to local residents of a couple of $100 a year potentially, or even more. So leaning in, for doing nothing effectively, that's a pretty good deal on your power bill. So this is something that we really should be leaning in on, and it's timely that we re-engage. We've met with them previously, but we do need to keep on this. Our advocacy is worthwhile here. I would just put forward. Councillor Kasim.
Thank you very much. And I'm just rising to note that, of course, I'm very happy for Councillor Nigel to never be silenced, and I'm also very happy that Councillor Douglas is not to be silenced as well, because this is, as has been noted, an important, it's an important thing for our council, it's an important thing for New South Wales, and I congratulate her on raising it. Thank you.
Further discussion, councillors? All those in favour? Aye. All those against? Declare it carried. Being no further items, questions with notice, councillors? Do we know Councillor Kasim, I think, had a question with notice earlier that was flagged about the lease? Councillor Brederhoft? Other people submitted their questions with notice. Anybody want to put any forward? Declare the meeting closed at 10:04 p.m. Thank you.